Hello and welcome to Saturday Night Shoggy. My name is Marion. With me today I have my two lovely co-hosts, Sakaki and VLord. Say what's up, in that order.
Oh god.
Hello, what's up?
What's up?
Good. Finally, someone who fucking listens. Anyway, this is Saturday Night Shoggy. We are a podcast dedicated to bringing you everything about Shogakukan manga, whether it's English, North America related, or from Japan. We like to report on it, and also just like talk about manga in general, because you know what? Like, they actually publish some pretty awesome stuff. Am I right, folks? Yeah. So I figure, since this is our fourth
episode.
Yeah, right? Good. Okay. I'm not senile yet. We're basically recording for the month of
May job.
2021, and I guess a good thing to start would be kind of like an icebreaker thing. Let's talk about what kind of Shoggy stuff did we actually read or watch recently. Huh? Sounds good?
Yeah, that sounds pretty decent. VLord, why don't you go first?
Pressure on me. I see how it is.
I mean, I read the whole goddamn magazine. There's really not much.
And I read everything that came out in the last 6 months. Leave me alone.
Exactly.
Yeah,
bro.
so I've been really digging into Naoki Urasawa recently. So
True. You have been posting a lot of it on Discord.
I've been very enthusiastic about his work lately. Specifically because initially I was reading through all of Monster for the first time. So I had read a good chunk of Monster before that, and I had also watched the anime up until partway through the Munich arc. But I kind of back in the day got really busy and then forgot about it and then never got back to it. And it's especially bad because I bought all the Monster Perfect Edition volumes as they were coming out from Viz. So they've just kind of been collecting dust since then.
Oh no. See, you gotta be like me. You gotta buy stuff and then you gotta double stack it in the bookshelf. All the older stuff you just shove further back inside so the dust doesn't pile.
Yeah, I mean, I've told Marion and Sakaki this off mic, but I have way too much manga that I haven't read. And it's especially bad because a lot of it is Shoggy, and some of it's also really rare manga. One of them is Eagle, which ran in Big Comic ages ago. I own the big 400-page volume Viz release of it, the entire thing, and I have never read it. Yeah, and then I own all of Shinbo, all of Golgo 13. To be specific, the Viz releases of those.
Yeah,
not,
that's actually
not
crazy. You literally have manga history in your house, and you're just ignoring it. That's crazy. Could it be me? Spoilers, it can be. So Marion, how about this be VLord's last episode? Because clearly he's not part of the cause. He's part of the problem. I have considered it, and I have rescinded that decision because we need a backup editor.
See, that's why you guys really keep me around to edit everything.
We're now soliciting backup editors. Please email us at... No, I'm kidding. Don't worry about it. Email us about other shit.
Monster, amazing. I don't think I have to say that, but... It is really amazing.
Who's the best character and why is it Grimmer?
It is Grimmer. I mean, that's no debate.
I know.
See?
I'm always right.
I mean,
good.
Yeah, that's just natural. That's just as natural as the sun coming up and setting at night. I
really did like Roberto as well, just because of how much of a terrible person he is. And the reveal of his identity near the end of the manga, that's too. Fair. I was like, oh my god, Urasawa. the legend.
Wait, I'm trying to remember who is Roberto. I mostly remember monster people from their
So he's Johan's
faces.
hitman.
What does he look like? Oh, that guy!
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he
sleazy.
is, like, in the final arc, there's this, like, part where he's going out and killing people, then coming back in to have sex with this girl. And then every time he's coming back and forth, he's taking a shower. It's just like, geez, man, like, you're really, having your priorities straight here.
Okay, so you all wanna? Oh no, go ahead.
I was always really fond of Inspector Lunge.
Yeah, Lunge was great too, like...
Yeah.
I especially love during the Munich arc where he's finally, like, kind of at odds with his initial, like, deduction about Tenma, and you can just see him, like, going from Galaxy Brain to Peanut Brain.
I love it because he, that kind of character archetype reminds me a lot of I don't know if either of you have seen Legend of Galactic Heroes, but
Yes.
I forgot his name. The guy with the artificial eyes. Paul Oberstein? Yeah. Him. They are like they are calculating and will do like anything to like achieve their goals, even if it's like kinda like not really like bending the rules sort of, or like taking care of like moral gray areas, which is pretty fascinating for someone who is on the side of quote unquote good.
Yeah, like stepping up to the line of doing something wrong, but not actually stepping over it. Getting that close to it. Yeah. I find that character archetype really interesting too, because like they're good guys, but they won't they'll push the envelope, but not do much more than that. But yeah, I do find that. I mean, I found Lunge's like character arc really interesting. I mean, all of Monster is interesting like that because everybody feels fully actualized. Yeah. Like there isn't one character that's like, oh man, we didn't really get to spend much time. Yo, and okay, so what I was gonna say earlier is like there's a crapload of like Detective Conan voice actors in this team, so I've always found that amusing. Like Ava is Vermouth. The one guy that they questioned at the beginning, like, I forgot who questioned him. Like, wasn't it like his first name is Rudy? I don't remember. Was that him? It was the guy with the glasses that they like first started talking to, and it was like really close to the beginning of the series. Anyway, that's like Kogoro from Conan or Tora even. And like the girl that you were mentioning that Roberto's with, that's like Mitsuhiko.
Oh God.
Or Pikachu. If you want to go.
Now you're just like putting an image really in my head that I do not want to say out loud.
That's Chopper?
Good!
He was having sex with Chopper?
Good.
Degenerate.
Bad Marion.
I forgot.
What a degenerate. I hate this.
And then the guy that was the nephew, I guess, like his girlfriend, it was him and his girlfriend, and like they did the whole thing where he was supposed to lie in the road and pretend to be rude or whatever. I think they did that scam.
Oh damn.
That was Takagi. And his girlfriend is fucking Ueki or Edward Elric.
Okuyasu scamming? No dignity.
And then, like, his uncle that was in jail, that's Chiba, or Tokyo, or Kanenari from Conan.
Not Pilaf.
So, like, it's just... I'm trying to relate these to Sunday people. You keep bringing up Jump. What's wrong with you, bro?
I don't know Conan.
But no, like, yeah, I'm
trying to make this easier for the layman who has not read 70 plus volumes of mysteries. Then again,
okay,
if you're a Shonen Sunday fan, you likely probably do like Conan, so never mind.
I mean, that's 100% fair. I mean, well then, Marion, then you should bring up how, like, the serial killer Johan is Yusuke Urameshi.
Oh my god, it
while
is.
We're here.
So wait, Yusuke cross-dresses?
Yeah. I mean...
Crazy.
The dress fits.
Yeah.
I
mean, on the topic of, like...
she's been hanging out a little too much in Keiko's
on the topic of, like, the monster anime, having like that been my first exposure to the series, I gotta say I kind of like the manga a lot more. There's something about Urasawa's like artwork and paneling that really just kind of makes it a lot more memorable and really kind of intense. And that's not to like diss the anime at all. The anime is still great, but
no, you can't fault the anime for not being able to have any ambition because Urasawa wants everything to be one to one.
Oh my god! Stop encouraging Urasawa to not have digital releases. When you praise him, it gives him more power. It's like praying for Grandpa. That's what you're doing. You're making him more powerful.
Part of why he doesn't want things to be digital, at least from his justification, because his whole thing's like.
I'm just salty that we don't have Guillermo del Toro live action monster. Fuck you, Urasawa. Fuck you, old man.
Well, he approved. I thought he gave his blessing for that though, and then HBO turned it down.
Oh, I thought the whole point was that like he was a little too strict.
Nah, I think like Del Toro started pitching it, and then no one ever picked it up. Yeah.
Oh, that's lame.
No, like so Urasawa, I think part of his justification for not wanting digital is that a lot of his manga, especially the early ones, are made so that like you were looking at 2 pages at the same time, and he usually formats it so like the bottom left corner of like each like spread is supposed to be like your cliffhanger for the next page, and you see that all the time in Monster. So like I would love to see Urasawa digital, but I also sort of get it. But also Urasawa, please just let all your manga be digital, please.
Just read on a landscape iPad, forehead. Come on.
I mean, yeah, you could do that. But yeah, so Monster.
I've seen Roger's Days do it. Come on.
But yeah, so Monster, really good, amazing. But I also decided to go even further, go beyond, and buy the super old Viz release of Pineapple Army.
Oh yeah, the one that you outbid Aiden, the world's biggest Urasawa fan.
That was so
Quite
funny.
a feat, if you ask me.
So a fun story. I got it through an eBay bid, of course, because like it's super out of print. And the person I was bidding against was our good friend, now professional letterer, and also an Urasawa superfan, Aiden.
Call him by his real name, Boy Boy B Boy.
Yes, that's clearly his actual name, Boy Boy B. But that was funny, and yeah, I mean, Pineapple Army is like way better than I expected. Like I've always heard it's like the weakest Urasawa manga, and I can sort of see that, but also there's still a lot of merit to it. Like, for one thing, Urasawa didn't write it. It's written by Kazuya Kudo, who is mostly known for in the US for doing Mai the Psychic Girl, which also ran in Shonen Sentai.
Okay.
Nice.
Guess we got an episode to do soon.
Even though it's not written by Urasawa, it still has a very kind of like Urasawa-esque feel to it. Like, a lot of the stories kind of feel like prototypes of sorts for Master Keaton. And there's still like some compelling elements too, because it's about like a guy who's essentially a freelance mercenary / trainer for just normal people, and like he helps them like learn self-defense and like protect themselves from like people that maybe they can't get like help from, like say like the police or like some sort of like group that can like help them. Like the first chapter is like about like a group of young girls who have to like protect their inheritance money from like a like shady organization filled with like military people. So like the main character Jed Gushi has to like train them all to like use weapons and all this stuff, and like there's even this little girl that holds like a bunny all the time, and like she's supposed to like throw a grenade at one point, and she actually throws like her bunny instead. Yeah, so like it's a nice balance of like serious moments and humor.
Please tell me she's okay.
The Viz release is kind of interesting though, because it skips some chapters, of course, and the chapters it skips specifically early on are a set of chapters that introduce like all the supporting cast. So, like, when you see them in later chapters, you're just like, okay, who are these people? I don't know them. Why are they hanging out here?
Oh shit, we didn't know they would come back. Shit, we thought they were filler characters.
But I mean, like, it's kind of a shame that more of this manga didn't come out in the US. I think part of it is because they didn't use Urasawa covers. They hired a guy to, like, make these, like, gritty and edgy covers for each issue.
Oh my god, like the Mega Man video, game covers?
Yeah, like, they look nothing like the actual manga. God, it's, like, going for, like, a Dark War aesthetic. But that's not what Pineapple Army is actually about. So when, like, you open it up, it just looks very weird.
That's
yes, this manga is so hardcore.
Guys. Just like American Kirby.
Just angry face Kirby everywhere. Yeah, and then, like, the last Urasawa thing I've been checking out lately has been Yawara, which, oh boy, Yawara is so good. Like,
VLord's
been making me want to watch the anime so bad.
Yeah, I heard Judo flip the tank. That's kind of OP.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So, like, Yawara is about, like, a young girl who wants to live, like, an ordinary kind of life, but her grandfather, Jigoro, is training her to be a judo prodigy and win the Olympics. And it's interesting because, like, initially Urasawa wanted this to kind of be, like, a parody of sorts of Ikki Kajiwara's works, the creator of Ashita no Joe, Tomorrow's Joe. And you can really kind of see it because, like, the main character, Yawara, she's always kind of, like, very standoffish about, like, doing judo, and she's kind of avoiding it for a long time. And then she eventually kind of meets, like, a rival, and it slightly motivates her to keep going with judo. But instead of it being, like, a sleek, cool character like Rikishi in Tomorrow's Joe, it's a thick Canadian woman named Jody. And guess who she's voiced by?
Oh,
yes,
right.
who voices Jody Starling in Detective Conan.
In Detective... And as I pointed out to you, Lord Marge Simpson. The Japanese Marge system for anybody who's, like, confused by what I'm saying, because I remember I told VLord this.
The thing is, like, now I totally see it. It's like the exact voice you'd expect from a Japanese Marge. Yeah, and especially is, like, telling, because, like, Jody uses a lot of English too, because, like, she's Canadian. So, like, now I'm just imagining her being Marge half the time.
I kind of wonder if Aoyama, like, because, you know, he's involved a lot in the cast that's chosen for the Conan anime. So I kind of wonder if he was just like, Jody?
I wouldn't be surprised considering, like, how huge of a series Yawara was. Like, it inspired, like, actual, like, Japanese, like, people that went to do judo at the Olympics. So it definitely kind of had a lot of impact.
So it was a slam dunk effect.
Yeah. It's weird, too, because, like, you definitely don't see that many people talk about Urasawa's pre-Monster work. But I'd argue Yawara is up there with Monster in terms of quality. It's a very different type of series. It's much more comedy-focused. But that same charm and, like, actual care for characters is there. And it's really nice. Because, like, yeah, Yawara is lighthearted, but there's still that kind of, like, deeper elements to it, too. Like, you eventually kind of learn a bit about why Yawara's, like, not really into judo, because she feels like it is the reason that her family situation is the way it is. And kind of stuff like that. And then the kind of burdens of other characters, like whether it's, like, them doing judo for certain reasons. So it's all kind of there. And, like, I feel like it definitely is a very strong foundation for what you see in certain characters in future Urasawa series. So I really hope that, like, the manga gets licensed at some point in the US, because right now I'm watching the anime, to be clear. And the anime is really good, but I'd really love to see what kind of all this stuff looks like in, like, Urasawa's, like, original art style and everything.
Yeah, give us those perfect editions,
Oh
please.
god, the perfect editions look so good.
They do. Like, VLord showed me some of the artwork for he posted it in the Discord, and the covers look so nice. And weren't they like a collaboration?
It was a collab with Forever 21.
God.
Yeah, I mean, so that's cool. How you make people buy Forever 21. You have Yawara wear all the wardrobes.
Not Forever 21. She could get a way better friend than that. Come on. Give her more credit.
Oh my god. I love you, Marion.
Dude, Forever 21 is like fucking... I don't even know what the equivalent is, but like hipster Gap. Come on.
There's gonna be like a new reprint of Yawara, and she's just gonna be wearing Supreme the entire time.
Okay, that might actually be kind of.
You know what? No, you just.
I don't just be Gucci.
No, I don't accept that. Okay, you go back to Supreme.
Sakaki's like, wait, go back. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked out an Urasawa series, whether it be in manga or anime form, do it. They're all good.
I personally want to see Yawara sponsored by Build-A-Bear.
I mean, I would buy like a Yawara plushie if like Build-A-Bear sold it.
Yeah.
Well, you heard him. I mean, get on that, Build-A-Bear. We're willing to perhaps, shill some space on our show, maybe, but we do have a standards and compliance office. So
sponsor us, Build-A-Bear.
Get to clear that through. Okay, I guess it's up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that all VLord, or should I? Okay, for me, as I said, I read the entire Shonen Sunday in Japanese every week and recap it on @WS. Okay, no, we'll do that later. So basically, since the last time we recorded, we did mention there were new Shonen Sunday series, and actually, this is a good place to mention them rather than in the news section. We got 3 series, Bilocators by Kyosuke Tanabe. I'm forgetting the name of the second one is escaping me. Oh, Kakeao Tsukihi by Sei Fukui. And, well, I said 3 new series was technically 2 because Yu Watase's Arata Kangatari returned. I mean, I guess I'll start with Arata simply because it's available from Viz, so if you want to read it, you can pick it up. Right now, they're essentially just... Okay, to explain, like, Arata's been on hiatus since 2015. Wow, I was about to go way back with that. Since 2015, and since then, but it's not like Watase has just been kind of like chilling, and unfortunately, one of the reasons why they did go on hiatus was due to depression. But even then, Watase was working on what's called remix tracks of the Arata volumes. I haven't read them, so I can't really say much about them, but it does sound like from some of the supplementary stuff I've seen is basically, you could think of them as sort of perfect editions, but not really. Like, they include things that perhaps Watase couldn't include in the weekly serialization due to, time constraints or whatever. And yeah, they tell a bit more of the story, probably have retouched art, stuff like that. Unfortunately, I haven't read Arata, and I really feel bad about that. But I did watch the anime, which wasn't that great. But from what I read in Sunday, because the most recent issue was the return, so it was only 1 chapter from the remix volume 13, which came out, I want to say, a month ago. So it looks like what Shogakukan is doing is they want to catch people up, and then in I think issue 32, I believe, then they're going to start like new chapters that haven't been published before. So, I mean, the chapter that I saw in the magazine was really interesting, even though I couldn't really understand what was going on, because it looks like it's like in the middle of a fight. So, yeah, so if you've been reading Arata through, whether it's you watched the anime or you've been reading it through the Viz releases, this is a good time to probably to reread it. Because I would assume that once Well, actually, that is an interesting question because I don't think Viz is releasing the remix ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Since aren't the new chapters still being labeled with the remastered subtitle?
Yeah, they're still being labeled like that. So I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know if it's gonna be a thing where when the volumes come out for this new set of stuff when it begins again, if they're going to be they're gonna go back to normal format, which I doubt because. Obviously, Watase has had a lot of time to perfect the art to their liking, or what's going to happen, or how the Viz release is going to work with this.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't released the remix tracks. If it's a case of the Tankabons no longer continuing in Japan, I have a feeling Viz might finally license the remastered version, especially since they seem to still be interested in Yu Watase's works. They licensed that recent Fushigi Yugi sequel spin-off that only had one volume out so far. So it definitely feels I'm not sure if it's necessarily a lucrative area for manga, but it's definitely an area that Viz is still invested in, kind of like Takahashi.
Okay. So there's that. But either way, it's a good time to reread the series because it's been probably, if it's been on hiatus since 2015 in Japan, then it's probably not that much after that. Obviously, US releases dried up too, so hopefully they're easy to obtain. Okay, now going back to the other series in Sunday, Bilocators by Kyosuke Tanabe. It's kind of hard to explain this series without just recapping all of chapter 1. But essentially it's about this kid that to save his sister, he ended up becoming disabled by getting struck by lightning to save his sister.
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
And so he's stuck in he got struck by lightning to save his sister.
Okay.
What?
Okay. Basically, I guess she was climbing a tree and it was raining out and to save her, he went up after her to get her and he ended up getting struck by lightning. And that kind of disabled him. So he's in a wheelchair or whatever, but he's super buff because his dad's always trying to get him to go back outside. But obviously this whole thing has really kind of traumatized him. So he stays inside, but he's working out too. And his sister's now she's basically, I guess you could say I won't say handyman, but she just basically does a lot of different things. So she's barely ever home. And, eventually what happens is there's the bilocators mentioned in the series are essentially out of body experiences, and they have these they call them ridatsushis, and I don't know how to translate that into English,
taken back
in a way that doesn't sound, or no, ridatsu separation, okay. And then she is
user
and then she is kikaishi, master, separation master. So that sounds lame. There's a reason why Kikaishi isn't barrier master. But so essentially his sister, they've got the bad guys are looking for this specific ridatsushi, Mikoto, and they get in touch, they find his sister, and she comes back home and she's possessed, and her spirit is taken out of her body and is being used by one of these bad guys, and Mikoto shows up and she saves the day or whatever, but his sister's body is now empty after, they pulled out the bad guy's soul out of it. So now he's in his sister's soul, and then his body, during the ensuing fight, his body's pretty much ruined. So now he's inhabiting his sister, and part of the plot now is okay, we can get her soul back, but and now, we can get her soul back, but you have to trust me. Mikoto's you have to trust me and come with me to Tokyo, where the Ridatsushi headquarters is, and that's where the last chapter leaves off. That one was pretty. I just like the idea at the end of the last chapter. She's let's go to Tokyo, and in the background for her panel, it's this terrifying place, and then the main character Takehiko like he's got like this Tokyo Disneyland background. He's like, really, we're going to Tokyo? And I just like the two different ways they react to that. I know I didn't do a really good job of describing it, but that's not my forte.
It's pretty nutty.
But yeah, it's a pretty, like, I want to say, like, Kyosuke Tanabe, this is his first serial. The original Bilocators, it's way different, and it was published as a one-shot in 2017. So, like, definitely Tanabe's more... It's more a thing that his artwork's, like, okay, but the way he uses panels and everything is, like godlike. Like, I can only imagine, like, let's say whether Bilocators last a while or it doesn't, like, with successive series, like, I could see him being on the level of, like, Fujita at some point, because that's how just good his panel work is. So definitely he's an eye to watch out for. And then Kakeao Tsukihi by Sei Fukui is about two girls, Yo and Suki, and basically they share an apartment, and their goal is to eventually one day be like the top of the manzai world. Only 2 chapters are out of this so far, but essentially it's kind of a slice of life, the kind of Sunday series the kind of series that only Sunday could run, because it is essentially these 2 girls are like penniless, and they're struggling to get by day to day, and like Suki is kind of like the bokeh. So to explain manzai to people who don't know, like, that's the Japanese humor. I mean, if you watch enough anime or read enough manga, you probably have seen it, where there's a straight man and an idiot. Like, the idiot will say dumb things, the straight man will be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. And that's the manzai. So, like, Suki's kind of the airheaded bokeh, and then Yo is like the straight man. And she's also from Osaka too, so, and there's a thing in Japanese culture where it's like people from Osaka are hilarious. So they have that going on, and yeah, essentially it's just the 2 of them trying to, they have very little money, and they're basically trying to live their lives until they can hit it big and make their dream. And of course, like, also it's funny because their name's Suki, Moon, and Yo, Sun. So, and Kakeao Tsukihi, from what I remember that Sei Fukui described it, is like you spend a day between the 2 of them. So it's like, that's where the title comes from. So you start with the sun and then end with the moon.
Okay.
And then you just go, it kind of it repeats itself that way. That's how Fukui described the title. Chapter 2 is essentially, chapter 1 was just kind of like easing us into how the girls live and everything. Chapter 2 was essentially how they met, like in when they were in high school. I'd assume they're probably like college age now, although with Fukui's artwork it can probably be sort of hard to tell, but like, yeah, I assume they're like college age or so. And it was just a kind of thing where like, where Yo, it's from Yo's point of view, and she like moves to a new school because her parents moved, and from Osaka, and she's kind of like the type where people gravitate to her because she has a lot of charisma. Well, Suki is just very, very odd and out there. So, and it was just like when they started talking to each other, she just realized she just naturally started being like, "That's dumb, don't do that." And people in the class thought that was hilarious, and that's where their dream kind of started.
I'm not gonna lie, I think them being poor but wanting to be a manzai duo was funnier than the... Anyway.
Say what?
Like, the premise is kind of funnier than... I don't know. Something about the premise is just like, it sounds like a lot funnier to me than like a standard joke. I will check it out though.
I mean,
it's interesting.
I hope, like, well, let's not fake. I do hope that it'll be I don't see like an official translation happening, but I hope somebody will work on it. Like Fukui's previous series, which I probably mentioned in the last show too, Yukosai Tatakaiba, which is basically Gash Bell, except like the girl's like super duper powerful, but she refuses to fight. So Fukui's always kind of had this like their series are always kind of off the beaten path somewhat. I feel like they had another series before both of the ones that they did in Sunday, like Weekly Sunday. And I feel like there was one series where it was like this girl, and I might be totally off base with this, but it's like this girl had instructions from her mom for how to live, and she wouldn't deviate it from them at all, even when it made sense to. So that was kind of like the humor of the series, where it's like she would get into these weird situations, she'd be looking like instructions from her mom for how to get out of them. I believe they ran in Sunday Super, but I'll have to look that up. But yeah, besides that, I'm not going to go through the entire magazine, but yeah, Sunday's been Sundaying. Outside of Weekly Sunday, I've ordered Pluto, but like with the whole manga shortage, I'm probably not going to read that for a while. Which makes me sad,
I also ordered the Pluto volumes that I don't have yet because I need to continue my Urasawa addiction. But considering how many of them are out of stock, it'll probably be a little while. Though hopefully we get it before the end of the year, because, spoilers, we want to do a Pluto episode. Who would have guessed?
Yeah, no, that's complete. I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise, because this is the first time hearing it. No, yes, I would like to. I would like to read Pluto, because honestly, I haven't. The only thing I've really. Oh yeah, Asadora. That I've been reading that, and I actually just finished Volume 3. 2 days ago? So that's been a lot of fun, because I just like that Asadora is kind of mixing this kind of like supernatural element with stuff that feels like it's very natural. Like, it doesn't feel like it's a supernatural series at all sometimes. Then it reminds you, yes, I am actually. Like, but not it's not heavily so. So I've been enjoying like Asadora thanks to VLord. But yeah, as far as Urasawa goes, since we're on this, it seems like this should really be a Urasawa episode. But since we're on the subject, yeah, I've only really watched the monster anime. I read Sneeze. I read Mujirushi.
Mujirushi?
Mujirushi?
Right?
Yeah, you said it right.
Yeah, Mujirushi. I actually had it. Nice. I was thinking of Mushishishi, and then my brain just kind of self-destructed. But yes, I read those too, but I haven't read like a longer Urasawa work. So like Pluto seemed to be a great way in, especially since it was on sale. But yeah, I really, if I had my way, I love to read 20th Century Boys.
My Urasawa history is like, I read Monster, I read Pluto, I read 20th Century Boys, and like, as I kept on reading stuff, I realized, like, I don't think I really like the way he kind of ends the running series usually. I feel like he's good at, like, building up tension, but it kind of sucks sometimes the way he nails the landing, or tries to.
So question, how did you feel about the ending of Monster?
Monster was good. I feel like 20th Century Boys was what really kind of, like, soured me for some reason.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is like a few people on Twitter, when I mentioned that I wanted to read it, that's what they said too. The ending was a letdown.
Yeah, I feel like I did enjoy the way that Monster ended, but I think by the end, I was kind of just like, all right, yeah, let's get to it. I feel like it was spinning its wheels a little bit, but I'm open.
At least on Monster's front, I felt like when I got to the end, I just sat there and thought about it for a while. And the more I thought about the ending, the more I liked it, because it just thematically it fit so well with everything building up to that moment.
I respect that. I would probably look back a little fonder on it when I reread.
Yeah, I feel I pretty much agree with VLord. Like, it's just the kind of ending that's like, I feel like you do appreciate it more upon like revisiting it, whether it's rereading the series or just thinking about it. It is just kind of it feels like the kind of thing that there should be more to it, but then at the same time, it's just like, what else would you add to it? Although there is a novel,
Another Monster
that we never got, which I
from like looking into it, Another Monster, like it's primarily retelling Monster from the like perspective of a reporter. And there's, like, also another, like, series of murders going on alongside it. But, like, the primary focus is recapping the actual manga with just little interesting tidbits here and there.
I love those kind of things, especially from looking at it from another point of view that we couldn't have gotten with the series itself. I mean, that's just me, though.
Yeah, it's something I definitely want to read, especially since, like,
read that
it's primarily written by Urasawa. I think there is one chapter that's written by his longtime buddy and collaborator Takashi Nagasaki, who's also a very good writer. But yeah, it's mostly Urasawa.
Okay, and Marion.
Well, as you may already know, I did read over 19 volumes of manga for the fall 2020 to spring 2021
God, Marion,
manga.
only 19? You gotta step up your game.
Shut up. I don't want to hear shit from you.
God.
You're literally sitting on like a 60 plus pile
Marion.
of manga.
You think it's only 60? Okay.
I said 60 plus.
It's definitely more than 60.
I'm trying to be responsible.
Why are you bragging? Why are you bragging about how bad
I need to suffer,
like,
Sakaki.
that's not a good thing
This
at all.
my sin.
Anyway, yes.
This is his cross. He has to bear.
You could probably make an actual cross with everything that you own.
Like, I have
and still have plenty left over.
I have a few manga box sets that I could easily make a cross out of.
You should make a Lance of Longinus out of all your fucking manga. Anyway.
Stop.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about that stuff. I don't think I've watched any, like, Shoggy anime recently. You know what? I think I'll talk about Takahashi, because, like, I'm not a quote-unquote, like, self-professed fan, I guess, of her work. Like, I'm familiar with a bunch of it. I read, like, 17 volumes of Ranma as a teenager. I read, like, a little bit of Inuyasha. I definitely forgot most of it by now. And, like, I started reading Mermaid Saga and Mizani Koku for the blog to write reviews. Mizani Koku was pretty nice. I already knew that it was, like, it's one of the more beloved Takahashi series, because it's, you know, it's set about, the setting has, like, adults as, like, the main cast, mostly. I thought that, like, you know, like, the main romance between Godai and Kyoko is, like, pretty sweet. The circumstances behind it, I thought they were pretty tactful for, like, as tactful as Takahashi can get. She usually has the subtlety of a hammer. I don't know. Like, I think it's really cool seeing just, like, adults. Like, I feel like a lot of the humor isn't as crass as it usually is. I can't tell if it's, like, because of, like, the magazine, where if it's in something, like, aimed at, like, younger kids, like, it's just that much easier to, like, just make it, like, really, I don't know, like, Ranma, from what I remember, Ranma and Urusei Yatsura had kind of a lot of, like, I don't know how to say it, like, I guess, like, more pervy jokes where it's just, like, about, at the expense of, like, the girl, or, like, oh, you pervert, slapstick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess beyond that, too, like, I feel
I get you.
Urusei Yatsura and Ranma, they both have a lot more kind of over-the-top and zanier humor compared to Mai-san, where it's a lot more grounded.
Yeah, exactly, because I guess that also has to do with, like, Both of them have supernatural elements, I guess. But then, like, Takahashi can also do supernatural and not be super over the top in that sense, because Mermaid Saga was a more serious series. So it's been, like, kind of refreshing for me, I would say. Like, favorite chapters, like, I've read like the first 3 omnibuses. I think they're like 2-in-1s. There's some big boys. 1.5. Yeah, makes sense. Man, I forgot what the hell. Okay, I had like a couple complaints because there were some inconsistencies that just kind of don't make sense to me. It I get the Kimagure Orange Road comparisons because of, like, oh, Godai is kind of dating but kind of not, like this one girl from college or whatever, or was no, from his old job that he quit at one point. But then Kozue, and but she's completely, like, absent from some of the more important, like, quote unquote plot shit, like when he's kicked out or when he decides to leave the boarding house or whatever, because I forgot what the circumstances were, and he ends up, like, moving into, like, some other place, and he's sharing a room with a woman and, like, her lover, who basically try to, like, get all of his money or whatever, and, like, gamble it away and shit. Like, this whole time, like, he's miserable and he's by himself, but, like, we don't see shit from, like, Kozue or her family after they were, like, established as, like, obviously, like, he wouldn't, like, rely on them, but, like, there was no mention of them at all. While people from the Maison house were, like, looking for him and, like, trying to figure out, like, where's he been, because we've heard no contact at all from him, and, like, he's just completely disconnected. It's so weird to me that, because I think it was, like, the span of, like, 2 weeks or a month, maybe longer, and she was just completely out of the story.
I mean, Kozue kind of just, like, shows up like a Pokemon. I mean,
yeah, she's only there to, like, either make Kyoko jealous or, like, for other plot shit.
And I do like how her character arc ends up. Like, there's a very good arc near the end of the manga that kind of directly confronts, like, the whole relationship between Godai and Kozue. But for a lot of it, a lot of the series, like, it kind of just meanders.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like the Kimagure Orange Road comparisons are there. Because, like, Kyoko is definitely the it girl. Like, it's obvious. She's the main heroine. She's the one who is obviously the real love interest. Everything else feels just like, not playing hard to get, but, like you said, meandering around the whole thing. And, like, I forgot the sensei's name. The handsome guy who is afraid of dogs.
Mitaka is, like, one of my favorite characters in the series.
He is fucking funny, dude. Like, he's so petty. But, like, Godai is equally petty. And, like, Godai is cool because he's, like, I would say, like, a more mellowed out Ataru. Because, like, he does have those, like, pervy moments and shit. But, like, he's still an adult. And he has, like, respectable moments. Like, he goes out of his way to, like, do the right thing sometimes, and I respect that.
I do like that a lot of the series is very much focused on Godai having to prove himself to be worthy of Kyoko in a way, like getting a proper education, getting a job, and, like, also accepting the fact that, like, Kyoko had a husband that she cherishes, and you can't necessarily try to replace that. You have to be accepting of her feelings.
Exactly. Yeah, I did. I really liked the stuff with, like, her side of the family, and, like, how supportive, like, the side of her deceased husband is to her, but then, like, she has this friction with her actual parents. I thought that was really interesting, the way that was handled. The freaking the members of the house are, like, they're pretty funny, but I have, like, not issues, but, like, I'm concerned because of the one neighbor who's, like, the guy who like makes the holes to, like, just, like, chill in Godai's room. Like, he's so creepy. I don't like him. Yeah, and he's so mysterious that no one knows where the fuck he works. But like he's always asking for money, and he's just like bumming it out. It's very weird. I think one of the best like gag chapters, I guess, was I think toward the end of the second or no, the third collection, where it's like they who was it? I forgot her name. Girl who drinks a lot. She works at the
Akemi?
At the bar. Akemi, yeah. I think she's like dumped by like some biker dude or whatever, or like she dumps him, or I forgot who dumps who, but like she's like heartbroken, and she ends up like drunk kissing Godai, but then like I forgot if like she actually did it or not, but I think she brings up like kissing Kyoko, or like she does it, and then she's like, oh, it's like a secondhand kiss or whatever for him, and it's so stupid, but like at least the way that like sexuality is portrayed in the series is not like super draconian for like a lack of a better word. Like people are pretty open, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it ran in like big comic spirit, so I feel like there was less of a need for it to come off as super horny all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even when it is horny, like it can be tasteful sometimes.
Yeah, it's interesting too because like My Sanakoku ran concurrently while Uruseiatsu was still going. So like I feel like maybe Takahashi wanted to write something a little different while she was writing Uruseiatsu. Yeah.
All of the horny was siphoned into Uruseiatsu.
Lum like channeled it into her like a lightning rod.
Oh man, yeah, but yeah, it was cool. And Mermaid Saga, it had some really cool stories in the second collection. I forgot what story Sakaki was. The Sakaki liked. I think it was the one with like the kid, the immortal kid.
Yes, it was the one where like the kid was the immortal and had like adults look like the adult lady looking after him.
That one was very interesting, just because of like the implications and how he's lived even longer than the hero. I forgot his name, the protagonist.
Yuta.
I was gonna say Yusaku, but that's not his name. Yeah,
but yeah, I only really like that episode just because like it reminds me of I said this before. It reminds me of Cowboy Bebop's. I think it was Sympathy for the Devil, that episode. So, which was the same kind of premise, basically, like this kid that was immortal, like was being looked after by adults, and I just like the whole mystery of it, that it was surrounding like, okay, there's a problem here, but where is it? You wouldn't think it's the kid until like way later that it's like, oh no, it's the kid that's evil and they're immortal. And it's just this idea that, you know, that like misdirect that when it's done well, it's really interesting.
I think thematically it's shocking, it's interesting because it's almost like normally you would expect children to be like victim of like grooming or whatever, but then when it's like flipped in that sense, because like the kid has literally like almost 1,000 years of life experience, and like the way that's just like the way he survives. The fact he had a fucking gun is like viscerally like very shocking. It was just very interesting, like thematically, I guess. I definitely forgot what the fuck I wrote because it's been a couple weeks.
I mean, just hearing you guys talk about it makes me really want to go and finish Mermaid Saga, because it's one of the Takahashi series that I own that I haven't finished. Like, I've read all of One Pound Gospel, read all of My Sanakoku, read all of Inuyasha. Have not really touched much of Mermaid Saga, despite it being so short.
I was like debating, like I was wondering like if which volume I liked more, what set of stories. I think for sure like I was more impacted by the first one, just because it was like my first exposure. I did not know what I was getting into. But I did think that the second volume had some stories that held a lot of weight. In particular, the ones that really stand out to me are like the kid one, the immoral kid one, the one with like the I forgot what it was called, like the Bone Princess one. That one was really interesting.
Oh yeah.
The one with the doll, that one was cool because it reminded me a bit of the other one with like the mansion in the first volume. That's very vague. No man, I don't know. I feel like what makes the first volume a little more impactful for me is that you could sort of see, you can kind of connect a thread, like a thematic thread of how these stories kind of connect how Yuta, like his morality kind of it's a little static obviously, but because he's like the protagonist, but you see it sort of shift because in the stories between the past and the present, he always has a tendency to like be a little self-sacrificial and like reckless because of like his body's condition or whatever, but he also definitely tries to protect the girl that he picks up in chapter 1. I forgot. Yeah,
Oh,
Mana.
Mana.
And like, because Mana is obviously new to the whole mermaid thing and like being immortal, but like he's also like instilling values in her of like how to like take care of yourself and uh not like take advantage or like take for granted like all the stuff that happens to people with that condition. It's cool like seeing him like evolve as like a caretaker and also like taking care of himself.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one chapter I haven't read in Mermaid Saga because I experienced it through the anime, which is interesting because like there were two that basically got adapted twice.
Oh, what?
And I did see the OVAs that. So like there was a set of OVAs or an OVA I think that adapted like the first one and then the one with the kid, but nothing else. Then there was a TV anime that adapted pretty much everything except one story, one arc.
You know which one that is?
So
or
for whatever,
read it.
It was. I haven't read. Well, I mean, I watched it with Jekka, and she, while we were watching it, she looked up the chapter, and it was the one where I think it was like a guy and his sister.
Okay, that's
was
the one
it
I was talking about with the
or
doll.
girlfriend or something.
Mermaid's Gaze?
Okay. Yeah, like I think so.
Mermaid's
I think that's
Gaze?
it. And that one never got
because there's like a doll from like a mansion that's like looking out or whatever, and it's actually he ends up like killing his sister, and one of the survivors was like the maid who like took care of the girl, and they ended up like mummifying her, I think, and like they kept her in like the basement or whatever, and then Yuta was actually working in the mansion, I think, and like he recognizes the killer as like that guy, the brother, because he pulled some shit where like he basically he quote unquote died, but he like tricked the maid into thinking that she killed him, and like he does that, like he comes around every once in a while to like haunt her, quote unquote, and like make her like relive the trauma. Like he's such a bastard.
Yeah, that because yeah, that's one I don't remember. Like I know she gave me like a rundown of what happens, but yeah, for whatever reason, the anime never adapted that one. And in fact, I think the one with the kid, they didn't adapt that one for TV.
I can understand that.
Like the anime, yeah, it was like too intense for TV, so they ended up like making that an OVA later. But yeah, and then like I don't remember what studio it was. I think TMS did the TV series, and then Madhouse did the OVAs. So, like, it was really interesting to see just what adaptational differences there were in each one of those. But yeah, I need to read the manga too. I haven't actually read the manga, but from what Jekka's told me, the adaptations are pretty similar. They don't really take out too much, other than the fact that the TMS one was done during anime's awkward teenage years in the 2000s.
It was like 2003.
So it doesn't look that great.
Wait, does this mean they animated the one where the mom would like change her face? That was creepy as fuck.
Yes, I do remember seeing that one. Yes, I do remember seeing
that
one.
was fucking creepy.
Yeah, it was. I mean, but yeah, not to go back too far because I know we've spent a long time talking about this, but yeah, it just was really interesting me with the one with the kid, just because I just like the idea that immortality was kind of pushed upon them, so they were like sympathetic figures. I'm saying they because I'm also including Bebop, but it's like they were sympathetic figures that they were just normal kids. It isn't like they were born evil, like, and then through their circumstances of just adapting and learning how to survive with this idea of like, okay, now I live forever. Then now what? It kind of twists them into being these like, it's like an adaptational thing. Like, I wouldn't say so much that they're not familiar with the idea that what they're doing is wrong. It's just like, this is how I've gotten by this long. I'm not about to change now. So yeah, I just found both Bebop and Mermaid Saga's take on that story really interesting because of that.
Yeah, definitely check out Mermaid Saga. You're a fan of like horror and also like sort of introspective takes on immortality, because that was really what kind of kept me interested. The fact that every story had a different application of immortality, and how it's every much a bit of a poison as it is like something that people want. But yeah, I think that that's a good note to cap off our discussion of what we recently watched. VLord, do you want to transition and talk about English news?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of anime news to go through. To start off with, the Lavueki and Kakaishi are both now on Crunchyroll.
Craigasm.
And I'm gonna tell you, watch them. Stop listening now and watch both of those. These are like the Sunday.
Watch both of them and then
anime.
reply to us on Twitter to talk about Kakaishi.
What? I noticed that you left Lavueki there, but I'm just, you were just excited, so I'm gonna let you go on that one.
I mean, both are very good, and it's both dub and sub for both. So yeah, you have options.
You're cashing out.
Yo.
But yeah, that's a very good thing. And also, possibly good is that Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple is back on Funimation.
Kenichi and the Mightiest Titties.
Why did you put it? Stop!
Yeah, so a little while ago, Discotek relicensed the series, and they were going to be releasing like an upscaled version on like Blu-ray, and also TMS USA had released the entire show on Amazon Prime to buy a while back. So Kenichi's been available for a while, but now you have the option to stream it again. And it's kind of fitting for it to be back on Funimation since Funimation did the dub.
I might actually rewatch that because I loved early sense. Kenichi.
That high quality Matsui.
Yep.
Stop. And that high quality TMS animation, all of those still frames. So you can admire the boobs.
Yeah,
better.
I mean, like, I have not seen that much of Kenichi, but with how much I joke about Kimiwa 008, I feel like I probably should watch and read the entire thing at some point.
No, I don't think you should. Just keep making fun of Kimiwa 008 without having experienced any Matsuen. It's much funnier that way.
I mean, out of everything, it seems like Kenichi's the least horny out of his work.
I don't know, man. Did you read it to the end?
That's a
least
take.
Horny. It's still going to be horny, of course, but on the scale.
I mean, that's a take. On the Richter scale of horniness, it's still pretty high up there.
It took a little while for the clothing to not be extremely skin tight.
That's because Matsuen was still new. He was testing the waters, and once he realized Shogakukan wasn't going to stop him, then, well, the rest is history.
Imagine if we went to Kodansha.
Time let all the horny out. Yeah, Kenichi would have just been. There wouldn't even be clothes. There wouldn't even be clothes on anybody.
I don't need more nippleless titties.
Oh no. But us.
Oh no.
I had enough with A Town Where You Live. Leave me alone.
But speaking of better things...
OG Seo.
Seo!
But speaking of better things,
Yes?
this year, Crunchyroll Expo is virtual again, and they're going to be previewing the OVA for Tonikawa, or Fly Me to the Moon, or Tonikaku Kawaii, whatever you want to call it.
I see you've been
It's funny
over the
because
head.
the series has had all of those names.
Raging.
It's funny because the series have actually had all of those names now at this some point because, you know, there was the Fly Me to the Moon arc in the manga. It just makes everything
all the more confusing. Yeah.
Let's just blame Hana.
So,
That's the
Crunchyroll Expo is going to be specifically only showing the first 15 minutes, so it won't be in the entire thing, but you'll get a little bit of a taste. And I assume, like, Crunchyroll will probably stream the entire OVA eventually, too, which is cool.
Just a little taste.
So, VLord, what? So, no, actually, both of you, what do you think are the odds of us getting a Season 2 announcement at CR Expo?
Yeah, I like those odds.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, there's more than enough material.
It would be funny if it got one and Sleeping Princess never did it. Get another one.
You know, I'm not saying anything. You all know why later because my girlfriend made me a whole bunch of shit for what I said last episode. So I'm not.
No, clearly. I mean, you know, it's after this episode goes up, we're gonna get the announcement for Sleepy Princess. It'll be just like Comey.
But this time, I'm not taking responsibility for it because she gave me a whole lot of bullshit for last time when I said I would.
But moving on, we have also some anime news from Sentai Filmworks in that they've licensed the Alice in Borderland 3-episode OVAs. So those will be coming out on home video and digital outlets at some point. And also, through a partnership with Crunchyroll, they're going to be releasing Eizouken, Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, on home video. And in the, press release for it, it mentions that, the titles announced will be, a mix of sub and dub. So we don't know for sure if Eizouken is going to be dubbed or not, but I really hope so, because Eizouken really deserves a dub.
I wonder well, I'd imagine if they're partnering with Sentai, who's going to dub it, though? CR or
I'm not
Sentai?
Sure. Maybe Sentai. Maybe CR. You never know.
Let's hope it's CR.
I mean, they're both kind of like the, sunny side of mid, but I guess one's a little less mid than the other.
I think I like...
I don't know. I'm not...
I think I like Crunchy more as a
yeah, I do too.
Than Sentai.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I don't really care for either one of them that much, but
the serious case
I guess CR
not like
is the
they
lesser
dub
evil
anything
here.
internally. They use Bang Zoom like most LA dubs, or Studiopolis, or any of the usual LA studios.
But after Chihaya Furu, I would like to hedge my bets.
Yeah, I mean, the Sentai dubs are very
That's fair.
hit or miss.
Okay, there you go. No, you win.
Like the Chihaya Furu dub. Oh boy.
It would be fucked up if Monster Girl Doctor got a better dub than
oh no.
anything else here.
Stop. Stop. You just talked it into life and now that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that Eizouken will be on Blu-ray, and also it's cool that Alice in Borderland will be on Blu-ray. I have not heard anything about the OVAs,
maybe I should check
so
that
I'm kind
out.
of curious about them.
I should probably check them out because I'm seeing the cast has Yoshimasa Hosoya and Maya Sakamoto.
Oh my!
Yep, it's a pretty stacked cast. I from what I remember, they were kind of just the whole bundled with the volumes thing. So, and I mean, I guess to throw in there too.
Oh boy!
I don't know if we mentioned it before, but the Netflix one is getting a second season too. So that's a thing.
Is the ones that were bundled, are those those 460p ones that with they're not true HD?
I don't know. But I
mean,
wouldn't be surprised.
Made and rendered in HD though, so They're probably like downgraded for that release.
Let's hope so. But
which, I mean, I guess this just comes back to beg the question of where's the manga? With the Netflix one doing so well, and now we're getting the OVAs, you'd think somebody would, get on that.
I mean,
it's not like Alice
volumes.
Is that long. That's a digital release right there. Somebody could pull those out, throw those out there digitally.
Not that many of the publishers do solely digital only for non-ongoing titles. But I do find it surprising that Alice in Borderland hasn't been licensed, because even in Viz's promotions for Zom 100, they mention Alice in Borderland.
Yeah, that's okay.
And they're pushing Zom very hard. It's getting a lot of attention, and it seems to be working because lots of people seem to be picking it up. So it's weird that they aren't picking up Alice in Borderland, or really any publishers picking up Alice in Borderland, where I feel like it'd be a pretty decent sell, especially with the Netflix live-action series still going.
Yeah, overseas is just not as hard sold on Alice in Wonderland as Japan is.
The live-action series is way huger in Japan than it is in the US, obviously. But it's still available, so it's there.
Yeah, but they got the manga, so they have something else to look for. They have a precedent for why they're into it.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had the manga, it'd be bigger here too. But no, it really is. So, maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe if Zon 100 does well enough, they'll just be like, you know what? We got Hide and Closer too, so might as well get that other Aso thing.
But you know what we are getting?
Yapapa, yapapa.
Yes, that's right. A digital release of Ranma 1/2.
Yay!
Maybe I'll finally finish reading
this is long overdue. For a very long time, Ranma has not been available digitally in the US. But that will soon be over, because on July 27th, the first 4 omnibus volumes, which is essentially 1 through 8 of the original Tankobon run, will be made available digitally on the usual digital platforms that Viz releases their stuff on. And I'd assume most of their digital releases, this is going to be a monthly thing where they dump 4 more until they're done.
Isn't this 16 volumes of content?
It's volumes 1 through 4 of the omnibus, so it'd be 1 through 8.
Got it. I can't math.
What is math?
How many volumes is Ranma? 30...
34? 33?
38.
35?
Fuck.
It's short.
Never mind.
Okay. I knew it was shorter than Renee, which is 40. So, okay.
Yeah, so it'll take them a while to release all of it, because that would be 19 omnibuses total. But it'll be done eventually. And it's honestly just good to have it, because now the only still licensed Viz title that needs a digital release is 1 Pound Gospel. Which I'd like to hope would happen with an eventual re-release of 1 Pound Gospel. Because, oh boy, that final volume is a bit harder to find now.
How long is it?
1 Pound Gospel? 4 volumes.
Yeah. Okay. That's the one about the boxer and the nun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That I haven't read it, but I know of the premise. Where did it run?
That was Young Sunday. Yeah, I've read it and it's really good.
Okay.
I would highly recommend it. But it's also a pain in the butt to find. Yes, if you're Sakaki, nothing's hard to find.
You hear that
Unless
sound?
it's Urasawa.
You hear that sound? That's me. You know what? Fuck you.
And VLord has gotten so cheeky. I love it.
We all have to suffer the Urasawa pain.
He's our cheek.
True.
That's VLord's our cheeky angel.
I don't know a cheeky angel, so.
God, where's the show
our
going?
one final piece of English news besides the usual release calendar stuff, is that Seven Seas had a May licensing event. And out of over 30 licenses, we got one Shoggy license. Let's go, guys! One release!
That's one more than I was expecting.
Yes, so the title that Seven Seas has licensed is The Savior's Book Cafe Story in Another World, which is by Kyoka Izumi, Omiya, and Reiko Sakurada. And the premise for this is, when a god tells Sukina that she is to be transported to another world to become its savior, Sukina isn't interested. As a bookish 30-something, she has zero desire to go on some big adventure. So when she arrives in the strange new land, she decides to use her magical powers to create a cozy little book cafe instead. But when a fellow savior starts causing trouble, Sukina might just have to play the hero after all. And the first volume of this will be out in November of this year. And it's worth noting that this is also a manga adaptation of a light novel series that's published by Kadokawa, and the manga itself runs in Ura Sunday.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice to see more Ura Sunday stuff coming out here.
Yeah, so it's nice to see another Shoggy license, even if it's not Sobote. Where's Sobote, Sakaki? Why can't we have our Sobote?
Listen, at this point, I'm sorry to say this. We're too close to 30 volumes for it to happen.
Let me dream, Dad.
We're gonna have to put Sobote down.
Is he gonna go to the big manga collection in the sky?
We're gonna have to put it down.
Mother.
That's a good localization.
We're gonna put the Sobote down. Yes. Yes, anybody listening, please.
Sobote must be put down.
Burning down the house. Burning down the house. Sobote must be put down.
I love that.
God.
Oh, shit.
Then we could, every time we read a volume, we could be like, JoJo reference.
Yeah, we should also run down, though, the May Shoggy releases. And the only new series that's debuting in May is on May 25th. And that is Bite Maker, The King's Omega by Miwako Sugamiya, which runs in And Flower. And Miwako Sugamiya has done quite a few manga with Shogakukan. She's been with them for, I think, like, well over a decade at this point, and she's known for a lot of, like, a, kind of romance titles, like, primarily in shoujo and josei magazines. Though, Bite Maker is kind of interesting for a variety of reasons. Yes, I'm gonna just read off the summary here. Nobunaga won the genetic lottery and was born an alpha. His beauty, intelligence, and talent drive everyone wild with lust. Despite his seemingly perfect life, Nobunaga is unsatisfied until he meets the woman of his dreams who can sate his every desire. Enjoy a taste of the supernatural in this Omegaverse tale about love, lust, and the power of attraction.
That threw me off so hard because I'm so used to Omegaverse stuff being like BL and slash fiction. I didn't realize that there's also hetero stories in that kind of setting, which is kind of funny.
The preview is out for the manga already as of the time that we're recording this, and the early pages sure are interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna literally recite these 2 pages that I showed Marion and Sakaki a few days ago. my soulmate, my one and only partner. I'll chase you to the ends of the earth. I'd go to hell to hunt you down. I can't wait to thrust into you and make you pregnant.
That's still just so beautiful.
That's one way to say that.
And I'm just going to say what I said that other day. Like, I'm very, very appreciative of this manga stating what it wants. So I understand in a way that even me, a young man reading manga, can understand what it's about. Light novels can learn something.
You have the
from
main
this.
character shirtless saying, "You're going to have my baby." And then, there's another one's like, "I don't want to feel anything. I can't let my animal instincts control me. Don't destroy my world." Then there's, damn it, I want to be in her so bad.
So we're going to have an episode where you just read the entire volume,
I'll tell you this right now, I have it pre-ordered.
You're doing such...
I don't care how raunchy it is, I'm going to read it.
So everybody, so everybody email us and tweet at us so we can just have a special Patreon episode where VLord reads the entire thing. We will make him do it.
I shared those 2 images in another Discord to my friends, saying like, "Look at this shit. What do you guys think?" And one of my friends, Captain, was like, "Oh my god," and like quoted the same thing, like, "Damn it. I want to be in Brazil so bad." God. Like please come to Brazil.
Yes.
Oh god. Before we get too sidetracked, let me go through the rest of this release list right now. So on May 4th, there is The King's Beast Volume 2. And then on May 11th, we have Flying You to the Moon Volume 5, Pokemon Sun and Moon Volume 10, Renee Volume 39, Splatoon Volume 12, and Yokai Watch Volume 17. Then on May 18th, we have Urusei Yatsura Volume 10, Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead Volume 2, and then My Youth Romantic Comedy Is Wrong As I Expected Volume 11. Then on May 25th, besides Bite Maker, we have Gigant Volume 5, and then the digital-only releases of Renee Volumes 29 and 30, and Hayate the Combat Butler Volumes 31 and 32.
It's a lot of manga.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the second volume of Zom. I already have it, I just gotta read it.
Yeah, same here. I have my review copy ready and fired up, but I have to take the plunge. It looks so good, though. Like, I loved Volume 1. Like, I thought I was going to like it because I'd heard good things about Haraso before. But, boy, it really blew away my expectations.
Yeah, I had negative expectations because I don't like zombie media. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good.
I mean, I believed in Aso before it was cool. Because
yeah, I mean,
translated
a combination
Closer,
of, like, your enthusiasm for it and all the, like, positive reception I'd seen about Hiding Closer before was kind of the determinant factor for me.
I mean, what is there to think? There's nothing else but awesomeness that could come from a teddy bear with a chainsaw as his primary weapon. Like, I miss Hiding Closer.
Yeah, I mean, it's still fully available digitally, but from Viz, and I believe the entire thing was lettered by Ace, our previous guest.
Yeah, what?
At least let me double check that, because I'm pretty sure
that's about this.
Holy shit, okay.
Hide and Closer. I'm pretty sure we did. And yes, I am correct. It was Ace.
Okay. Well, I totally forgot, and I'm so sorry. My ancient brain can keep things in it. That's so cool, though. Now I definitely have to buy it, though.
Alright, so Sakaki. I think it's the perfect time to start talking about Japanese news.
Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. So, alright, first things first, we're getting a stage play of Adachi's Nijiro Togarashi, which is interesting for a Todashi, wow. A Adachi series because it's not sports. In fact, it is... Well, first of all, the title means rainbow-colored chili pepper. And it ran in the 90s from 1990 to 1992. And it's a story set in a place very similar to Earth in the Edo period, but like Adachi's, of course, with his tongue-in-cheek sense of humor, he's very, very quick to remind you that this is not Earth. But yes, it's about several siblings, and the main character Shishimi, after his mother's death, joins out with his half brothers and sister, and finds out that they all had different mothers, all of which have died, and they all have the same father. And they decide to visit the graves of each of their mothers, and they, have hijinks ensue. Unfortunately, like a lot of Adachi things, this is not licensed, so I can't even really say go check it out. But if you know to know, then you'll know where to look it up. It's just interesting that this is getting a stage play now, of all times, but again, Sunday works in mysterious ways. I would love to see an anime of this because like the premise sounds really, really interesting, and it's Adachi, so I have no doubts of the quality.
Covers from Nijiro Togarashi before, and in fact, it's been one of the Adachi series that I've been wanting to read the most, just because of that, because it looks so different from like say Cross Game or Mix. So it's kind of cool that seeing the stage play, and maybe it will lead to an anime. You never know. Maybe.
Yeah, it'd be super nice. I mean, with only 11 volumes, they could easily do one. Anyway, it'll be in Japan, of course, at the Ikebukuro All Spot Theater from August 28th to September 5th. So if you're in Japan around that time, maybe you can give it a look and let us know, because we'd love to hear from you. All right. Besides that, well, I was going to save this for last, but there's no point in like avoiding it.
Oh, true. Kimi wa 008 color page.
No. But okay, yeah, sure. Let's go there. So, so like it was announced through different news outlets that you shouldn't pay attention to because we take care of everything here, but I'm kidding. It was sort of announced that Kimi wa 008 was reaching its climax, and wow, that's such a terrible phrase for that series. Anyway, it's slowly getting it's apparently like in not this week's Sunday, but the last week's Sunday, it was said that it's basically closing in on what seems to be the ending. And of course, the thing is with shonen magazines is they're always very vague with the editorial text. So I thought that it was just the end of the arc that they're in. And it's been in a pretty long arc for I want to say the last couple of months. But then this week's issue came out, and, a lot of stuff happened, and now it might be that maybe Kimi wa 008 is about to end soon. I mean, it does okay. It's definitely not the kind of series I would say sells gangbusters. But, I mean, more importantly is just that Sunday's only got 2 new series, the return of 1. Switch recently ended. And, like, Ponkotsu-chan Kenshochu is looking like it'll end soon. So yeah, Sunday's basically in this spot right now where a lot of things are ending, but there are not a lot of things replacing them.
Matsuina's just too powerful to see in the magazine.
If Kimi wa 00...
He's just like, I need to unleash my full power. I must go to Kodansha.
Oh God. They could have him. I want to see a Kimi wa 008 like sequel in friggin' like he should just pull a Take and just
Kimi wa 008
continue
darkness.
It there. Yes, totally. But yeah, I don't know whether the series is ending or not, but it's maybe, because I mean we've got quite a few series that look like they could end, and funnily enough, none of them are Daiku no Hato. So, thank you, Maxie.
Making those sales, bringing in the moolah for Shoggy.
A bit of really Japanese news because, well, I doubt anybody's really going to be able to participate this unless they're in Japan. But hey, who knows? Maybe they're open to global like contributions. But basically, Sunday is doing a TikTok challenge for Call of the Night, Komi Can't Communicate, and Freeren Beyond Journey's End, which I noted before we started recording. They're all like the leading ladies of Sunday right now. But basically, you just upload content to the Sunday to TikTok, and
you hear
can
that?
tell I don't use TikTok.
Call me and do a Fortnite dance.
Oh no!
Stop! If anyone, you just
do the
okay.
shoot.
That's an even worse image than the chopper. That's the even worse image than the chopper fucking. So. Anyway, they have kind of like they do have like sort of parameters or whatever. Like for Call of the Night, it's illustrations, cosplay, vlog, and I'm not sure why you want to do this, but apparently you can film yourself walking through night scenery, and they'll take that. For Komi, I just find it interesting that they actually have like parameters for this, but for Komi, it's like you just tweet the hashtag talking to so and so. So it's like basically chilling with your friends and like uploading that, which I mean makes sense because Komi's whole premise is built upon making friends. And Freeren is just simply cosplay, illustrations, and essays apparently about freedom. Or no, I misread that. I'm so sorry. That you can freely write about anything you want in that. So I guess Freerun doesn't have like a set like parameter or whatever. You just, as long as it's something related to the series, you can write about it. And they also have different like, okay, this would make sense as to why I've only really seen Call of the Night advertised. May 19th to June 16th is Call of the Night. June 2nd to June 30th is Komi, and June 16th to July 14th is Freeren. So, we'll definitely, if you've been checking out the WSS TV Twitter, I've tweeted out like the site link. I mean, we could definitely include it if anybody is interested. I don't see anything here necessarily saying you can't participate, but again,
yeah, I mean, TikTok
know nothing
usually
about
doesn't
TikTok.
region lock stuff, especially if they're just like tracking it from a hashtag.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, maybe you can get noticed by Shogaku.
Yeah, so is the hashtag one for like Yofukashi just like the Yofukashi like usual hashtag?
Let me see. Here. The hashtag for Yofukashi, yeah, it's just Yofukashi non-demo. Yeah, just anything at night, basically.
Yeah, because I do have TikTok for some reason. So I might look at these later.
Why? That's like...
Sometimes when you're bored, TikTok can actually be kind of entertaining. Once you get through the
just watch
less savory content on there.
Just go through a compilation on YouTube like a normal person.
Stop. Though now that VLord like mentioned the hashtags, like I like free runs. So like the Japanese title for free run is Soso no free run or free run at the funeral, and the hashtag is Sozo no free run or free run at the creator. So nice one there, Shoggy. I see what you did there. I'm
just pasting the hashtag in our Discord so I can quickly look at it.
That's gonna be a weird champ for me, boss.
Well, normally I don't really talk about releases here because but this is kind of a big one. The volume release of Hiromu Arakawa's, yes, that one, the Fullmetal Alchemist one, is Raiden 18 is coming out June 9th. Ooh. So yes, Arakawa has been doing things with Shoggy besides Silver Spoon.
Looks like undead.
Raiden 18. Stop. I'm gonna stop you right there. So
you're right. It's clearly Soul Eater because of the guy with the screw in his head.
Fullmetal Alchemist and Soul Eater ran the same magazine, so you might be onto something there. But yeah, so like Raiden 18 ran in Sunday GX, the same magazine that brings us Black Black Lagoon and Yorgamund. But it was kind of sporadic. Arakawa ran a chapter in 2005, 2010, and 2020. So this volume release is going to combine all of those. So this is the first time this is going to be available for people to buy outside of just having the, issues that these came in. I do recall that because Sunday GX is celebrating its 20th anniversary, that I think they made the other ones available digitally, but this is going to be the volume release. So perhaps there's going to be extra artwork or extra things in it. The series itself is just about a mad scientist who brings a Frankenstein style monster to life, and hijinks ensue. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe perhaps up until now they've not licensed it because it hasn't been in a volume, but now that it is, let's see somebody bring it over. I mean, I kind of wonder if it would be just because Silver Spoon was passed on by Viz, if they pass on this too.
They're still very enthusiastic about FMA though, so I could see them picking up this series, since it doesn't seem necessarily like slice of life like Silver Spoon.
True. That's true. And then speaking of Sunday GX releases, Volume 12 of Black Lagoon will be out November. Will be out this summer in Japan. The last volume came out November 2018. So it's been a long wait. But the author, Rei Hiroe, he dabbles in a lot of things. He actually has another series in Gessan. So, and he writes anime and does all kinds of things. So it's not surprising at this point that Black Lagoon's more like a hobby to him. Because he'll take off months just to do extras for the volumes.
Yeah.
So likely Viz will have this up, not too long after the Japanese release, hopefully. So if you're into
the newest volume a year after Japan. So yeah, we should see it probably by summer of next year, hopefully. That does remind me, I probably should actually read volume 11 of Black Lagoon, because I have it. But I felt like I had to go and reread the previous volume because it had been so long since I had actually read the Wildcard arc.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's that. Oh yeah, I've been vicariously keeping up with it through a friend. So I haven't actually read them. I've experienced Black Lagoon through the anime.
Yeah, I mean, the anime is very good, but I think
I should actually
there's a certain charm to the manga that makes it still very much worth reading the entire thing.
Oh, yeah, fully agreed. I just need to sit down with it at some point. All right. And then here's my weakness, my Achilles heel, numbers. So some Shogakukan stats that just came out, I want to say, 2 days ago. So honestly, I don't even really feel like trying to read this, but I'm going to try. For the fiscal period of March 2020 to February 2021, Shogakukan's magazines, books, and comics section of the company, because it actually does way more than just manga, but we're focused on the manga here. It's been down 5.9% at
46.77 billion yen. Yes, so like Sakaki mentioned, the magazine, books, comics revenue was 46.77 billion yen, down 5.9%. Advertising revenue was 9.095 billion yen, down 15.2%. And digital revenue was... What did Sakaki put in? You put 30.5 billion and then 87 billion after.
Oh, okay. I see what I did. It's 30.5 billion. The 87 was kind of a typo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
Twitter doesn't.
Digital revenue was 30.5 billion yen, which is up 23.1%.
Wow. It looks like the total sales were 94.316 billion yen, down from last year. That's 3.5%, because ordinarily income would have been 7.246 billion yen. That's like, up 29.9% year on year. And the net, that was 5.673 billion yen, which is 44.5% year on year.
For a minute there that you were doing that in your head, I'm like, oh wait, Sakaki did a second tweet.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, all that means is like year on year would be the up from the previous year. So it's 44.5% up from the previous year.
So yeah, overall, I mean, that's not too shocking because like it like the magazine, like manga part of things, I mean, it was down, but I mean, even digital went up by 23.1% as we noted. So like, that's not surprising. More people are reading digital stuff. Advertising went down a bit, but I mean, I'm assuming now with Sunday being a little bit more aggressive, like as we just said with the TikTok and everything like that, I do feel like they are trying to step out there and do more things and advertise more Sunday series. I mean, we mentioned one anime in previous episodes, and that pretty much is... Oh, wait. Nope, not quite yet. There's still one more other thing. So we mentioned Takashi Nagasaki. He's actually writing a movie called Character, which has an anime coming, a live action movie coming out June 11th. And there's a manga that'll be out, I believe, this upcoming week. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, the Akira Iwaya will be drawing it and Takashi Nagasaki will be writing. And one thing I want to check real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like excited to see like this film if I'm able to, because like I've been going through some of Takashi Nagasaki's solo work, specifically King of Eden, which is actually licensed by Yen Press, and you can definitely tell like he has a very great sense of thriller and horror, and like he's also really good at like crafting these intricate mysteries, just like Urasawa. So he's definitely not like Urasawa's usual collaborator for nothing. He has a lot of talent.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at the summary of this movie, yeah, it's a kind man aspires to be a comic creator, but villains and evil deeds do not come easily to him. For his little experience or natural inclination for them, things take a surprise turn when he comes across a family who were described as ideal as are no more. Then he uses the real life situation for his work. I'm also looking at Japanese Wiki where it goes a little bit more in detail, but essentially, like, he uses the idea of this family basically disappearing, and it's implied they were killed, for, his manga, and the manga becomes a big hit, and then the actual killer shows up. And that's as far as the premise, the synopsis of the movie goes. So it does sound really interesting, and honestly, I could see like a Urasawa work being based on something like this. So definitely, I would want to check this out too if there is a way at all to do so. But there's also manga, so definitely check that out. This one's a little bit old, but I felt like throwing it in anyway, and at least this is a number I can handle. Detective Conan Scarlet Bullet has exceeded 6 billion yen after a month in theaters, and this was back on May 16th, so that's likely gone it's probably more than that by now. So not quite the Demon Slayer, but Conan's definitely coming up.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in actually watching Scarlet Bullet at some point.
I'm not.
It's interesting since it's like been released globally, so like it's much easier to find spoilers for this movie than any other one.
Release it in the US,
so
please.
I feel
give us a theatrical release.
Yeah, that's so weird because like when they advertised that was going to be a global release, they had an English trailer the English was part of the trailer they put out, but we haven't heard anything since then. I mean, and a few people on WSSTB, the Twitter, they've remarked that, oh yeah, we went to go see the movie, it was great in, different countries. So that's super weird.
I mean, it was probably because, like, at the time, COVID restrictions were still pretty high. Yeah, but
okay,
maybe later this year we could get it in theaters. Maybe, though. At the very least, I'm pretty confident we're gonna get it whenever there's a wide digital release.
Yeah. Okay, well, here we are. Oh, good. You know, the car's telling me not to read this. Oh my goodness. The cards are telling me not to read this, so I'm just gonna go with what they say. No. Sigh. I guess I have to take responsibility. So, I might have mentioned last episode to a few people that remember that there wasn't going to be a Komi anime, and you know what? No, I'm not talking about this. I'm not taking responsibility because we all said this at one point. No, okay, there's a Komi anime coming this October from OLM, the people who brought us such great hits like Berserk. And also this tiny little thing called Pokemon. No one watches Pokemon, right? Yeah. No, nobody. I've never heard of that show, actually. But yes, Komi, the long-awaited Komi anime is coming, and I, like every other Sunday anime that came out in the last couple of years, it was always that little PS at the bottom, like, where's Komi? Well, the Sunday gods have finally heard your cries and have answered you. And if you haven't seen the PV yet, you should check it out. It's really pretty. So anybody worried that this anime wouldn't do the source material justice, OLM is definitely out to prove you wrong. Staff-wise, we have Deko Akao, which she worked on things like Gintama, Arakawa Under the Bridge. It's funny because I was watching Precure with Jekka the other day, and we saw that she wrote a couple of episodes of which Precure was that? Oh, Fresh Precure. And then the big one here is Atsuko Nakajima, who's doing the character designs, and she is a Takahashi regular. She did character designs for Ranma. She's worked on Maison. I think she might have done the character designs for Lum too, but I'm not sure. But definitely she's worked on a lot of
as far as Urusei Yatsura goes, she was animation director.
Okay. Yeah, an animation director for that. She also, probably one of the more recent things she's worked on is the Tokyo Ghoul anime as the character designer. But yeah, she has a huge, very extensive, resume of works. So you should definitely... Oh, she was a character designer for Sakamoto Desuka? Wow. Okay. I did not know that. Let's see. And besides that, Kazuki Kaji... I think I got his name wrong. But the main director for the series will be Kazuki Kawagoe. Yeah, I read his name wrong. He doesn't really have many credits to his name, so which was kind of worried me a little bit because most that he's got is Beyblade, and he did work on Pokemon and Yokai Watch, which are both OLM shows. But if that's kind of got you oh, wow, that's not very impressive. Well, Ayumu Watanabe is the chief director of the show. And he's definitely been around. I mean, for just Sunday stuff, he did Major Second. He was the director of Major Second anime. He did After the Rain, Space Brothers, Nazu no Kanojo X. So I think that it's safe, and he worked on an episode of Great Pretender as well. So I think it's safe to say that, with him supervising Kawagoe's work, that Komi should be in good hands. Now, as for voice cast, I know that's what you all are really interested in. And I love that the Sunday advertisement in the magazine was just, it even kind of indicates that finally a Komi anime's here. So they're just they're just as excited about this as you are. But yes, Shoko Komi will be played by Aoi Koga, whose probably biggest role is Kaguya from Kaguya.
Kaguya from Kaguya. I love it.
Kaguya from Kaguya-san.
I love that show.
I was trying to remember the whole title, but that failed.
Sama, to you.
Yeah, there we go. I was thinking the Japanese title, but lost it. But anyway, yes, her biggest role is Kaguya from Kaguya-sama Love is War.
Oh, I got you. Kaguya-sama, Tensai Tachi no Renai Zuno-sen.
Thank you. I feel so justified now.
Why the fuck would you want to say that? It's so long. It's so unwieldy.
No, like,
it was much too big to be called a title.
I wasn't going to say it. Stop! It was so soon for that. Stop! No, I wasn't.
Sorry.
But no, I wasn't trying to say the title. It was just like, okay, my brain was stuck on the Japanese title, so like I was trying to remember the English one, but the Japanese one just kept coming to mind instead.
I understand.
So, but yeah, so I've heard Koga in Kaguya-sama, and she's really good in that, so I feel like she'll do Komi justice. And Gakuto Kajiwara will be Tadano Hitohito. Most people know him as Asta from Black Clover, or Shinra Kusakabe from Fire Force. And Osana Najimi will be Ri Murakawa, which she was in Major Second. There you go. So already the Komi cast is looking pretty strong. But yes, you can look forward to that on TV Tokyo in October. So, I mean, we were discussing that in the Discord. It's likely that means that probably CR will stream it, but I could also see kind of funny picking this one up just because it is so beloved. But either way, it's likely it's going to get the full sub treatment.
Or we'll go down the darkest timeline and Netflix will pick it up.
Definitely, and as if you know what? Yes. Like, no. Why would you say that? Why? Are you not happy with them taking everything else from us?
This was a perfect episode until you said that. Okay.
They need to take away all our hopes and dreams.
No, let's just end it. I'm disgusted. End the episode.
But I mean, like I'm pretty sure like the Komi anime is gonna.
No, we don't. We're not even. Yeah, no, like the manga is selling super duper well, despite like, just besides the fact that like scans are caught up with it.
The manga
it still does really well.
Outsells some of the highest selling manga from other publishers outside of Viz. It does crazy well.
Yeah. So I have no doubt that the anime is gonna be. I mean, the question just would be at this point.
I can't wait for an adaptation that's gonna skip like 50 chapters. Just because they're not plot relevant.
Are you two trying to just like make this news suck? And like, are you like competing with each other?
I'm tempering my expectations because.
Okay, fine. I'll give you that one.
If I really wanted to make this suck, God. I would say Amazon's going to pick it up.
Oh God,
they haven't picked up anything in years. You can't do that. You can't. You can't. No, you're not allowed.
Daddy Bezos is too busy like configuring himself to like fuse with a Tesla or some bullshit. No, but like the only reason I bring that up is I feel like the only series that has been animated that's like probably comparable to Komi in like the scope and like what it tries to do is probably Tsuredure Children, which it was a great adaptation and the manga is also great, but it definitely like skipped chapters and like some like I don't know if it's gonna like outright skip characters in the Komi anime, but like depending on what they find is like the priority for how they're gonna adapt a story, I can definitely see them just like bouncing around. Like even Kaguya did that.
I mean, in Komi's case, is that much of an issue?
Yeah, that's fair.
It depends, because like some of the chapters are pretty short. It should be like Nichijou, where like they should just fit as much as they can within the span of like adapting all the all the skits or chapters like as they are. Like you could fit maybe on like a good episode like 5 different chapters, because sometimes comic chapters are like 3 pages long.
Yeah, and then sometimes they just do 4 comas, and like it is an interesting like the way that Oda's just kind of given complete freedom of how oh shit, I forgot Oda, not that one, is given complete freedom to like do pretty much whatever he wants that week. It's like if he wants to do an 8-page chapter, it's an 8-page chapter. If he wants to do all 4 comas, it's all 4 comas. Sometimes it'll just start off as a normal chapter, then just do like 5 pages of 4 comas and go back to being a normal chapter again. So, I mean, yeah, I agree with Marion. Like, I see where you're coming from too, VLord, where it's just like they wouldn't have to necessarily adapt 1-to-1 everything. But, like, at the same time, there are some... It really does depend on what, you know, their focus is going to be, too. But on top of that, like, and not to spoil too much or anything like that, it does feel like the manga could end at essentially any time now. Well, not any time, but, like, it definitely feels like it's heading towards, like,
God, everything in Sunday's just
naturally conclude. Yeah, we're at this point, I'm just beginning to think that they're just going to fold the magazine into Webry. Everything is just
big comic now. We don't need shonen.
I'd be cool with that. I'd be fine with that. I mean, like, you know, big comic is the pedigree for, like, manga and seinen manga in Japan, so they could do worse. Exactly. But that's it for Japanese news, so...
Wow. So I think that caps off our news in general. Coming up on SNS. Is it a plane? Is it a car? No, it's the Super Sentai team, Gorenger. And we have a very special guest with us as well. Stay tuned. I don't know what the fuck else to say.
Go.
Transition. Ooh.
Good evening, and welcome back to Saturday Night Shoggy. And tonight, we have a very special guest with us. Say hello to GrantTheThief from Twitter.
Hey, thanks for having me on, folks. Good to be here.
We're glad to have you, especially because this is like probably one of the more iconic like legacy releases that has come out recently, and we're like so thrilled to talk about Himitsu Sentai Gorenger.
Yes,
like, it's the first Super Sentai series actually, and we got a classic manga collection from 7 Seas. Came out was it this month actually?
Yeah, it came out just a couple weeks ago, I want to say. I got mine and pretty much devoured it immediately, so I don't remember exactly when it came out. But yeah.
Okay, I have the date here. It came out on 4/20. Yippee.
Nice. I mean, there are a lot of explosions and smoke in Sentai as a rule, so perhaps that's appropriate.
Yes. How apt.
That was also the day that my 5G fully came online, so that's pretty exciting. There was a big day for a lot of reasons, let's just say.
Nice. But yeah, I guess I guess to like kind of ease our way into it first. Do you have like do you want to talk about like your history with like Sentai in general, or like?
Oh, sure. Obviously, Super Sentai for many folks is probably most obviously the connection would be Power Rangers, right? And I am of that first early cohort where I was precisely the correct age to be excited by Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when it hit in those early 90s. And I was like I love dinosaurs, I love robots, giant dinosaur robots, and there was martial arts stuff going on. I was immediately hooked, and it pretty much infected my brain from there on out. So that was definitely the early phases, and I followed Power Rangers for a couple of years, and of course I fell off with it as those things happen. And then I knew at some point, I mean, obviously there's some crossover with the tokusatsu, martial arts movies, kaiju films, anime, that whole space, I guess, at least in my kind of local friend groups and things, that was all just kind of, if you watched one of them, you watched all of them, and we just watched them all together, or we recorded them off TV and would get together and watch things. And so it was always kind of just par for the course. So I knew that there were references in other Japanese pop culture to Sentai, and obviously when the mouths didn't always line up and stuff, and some of the Rita Repulsa segments and stuff, you figure out, if you've watched other subtitled stuff that's been dubbed, you realize, oh, this is from somewhere else, right? So I knew it was out there, and in college I saw a couple episodes. I wasn't super huge into BitTorrenting and stuff, so I didn't really get into that phase, but
were you cultured and used IRC instead?
No, I tried to just watch legally or off TV if I could. I just it is what it is. But I didn't even really know that these were available in any kind of way. And then I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I realized that the original 66 or 67 Ultraman was on Hulu, and I was like, oh shit. Oh, you can just watch it. Like, okay. So I consumed that, and in doing so, very rapidly started to realize that whether through legal means or through, nefarious other means, back alley deals and so forth, you could get fan subs. And so I began to watch Sentai and Kamen Rider and Metal Hero and Ultraman series, of course, and at various states of legality. Some of it fan sub, some of it official release, whatever. You kind of have to hop. The current tokusatsu is very much where anime was, I think, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, where there's some that you can get and some you kind of can't, and some you have to know the right handshake or whatever. Like it's not unavailable, but it's like, okay, tell me which season and which franchise, and I think I can point you the right direction.
Yeah, it's like dodgy. It's like spotty, I guess, the availability.
Real spotty coverage. But I've seen probably 6 or 7 Sentai seasons to completion, and I've watched, for Power Rangers, I think I've watched up through Mystic Force to completion.
My man!
And I've also watched a bunch of, Kamen Rider and Ultraman and stuff. So I'm familiar with the Lycra suits and the giant cardboard sets. I'm a huge fan.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm basically I'm around that era, I guess. I grew up as a 90s kid, and I saw Power Rangers on TV, and that's how I got into the franchise. I would watch it probably every weekend, I guess, and I would keep up with it sporadically. There are some times where I just missed parts of some seasons, but I watched most of all the series up to, I think the last one I saw to completion was Dino Thunder, and that was,
it's a good one.
I was gonna say nasty, but not bad nasty. I'm that was nasty. That was some good shit.
Dino Thunder is one of the better Power Ranger seasons for sure.
Yeah. And actually, I think recently, as in in the last 3 years, I rewatched Ninja Storm because I had a craving for it, and it held up so much better than I expected. So, but yeah, Sakaki and VLord, do you guys have any experience with Sentai?
Do you want to go first, VLord, or should I?
I can. So, I've never been a huge Super Sentai guy, but I did watch a lot of Power Rangers growing up. Specifically Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder, because those were going on when I was around I don't know, 8 or 9.
Yeah, they had some of the best openings.
Yeah, the Dino Thunder opening. That used to be stuck in my head constantly.
There's a light in the distance. See them coming closer with the force of ages. Centuries gone by. Defenders of the... Yeah, whatever. It's good.
Yeah.
Mary, that sounds way too close to the actual thing.
I try sometimes.
Yeah, but nah, so it's definitely been one of those things that I've wanted to watch more of. I've watched a little bit of Zyuranger, but that's kind of where it ends for me. And outside of that, really everything I know about Toku and Tokusatsu has just been through osmosis and our friend Meowth900 Allison raving about it all the time.
Yeah, it's funny. Allison is in the Discord channel I run. We do Toku Tuesdays. We also do Thursday viewings too, but we always watch series together as a group. and Allison we brought into the fold, and has quickly come to love all the shenanigans that go on in tokusatsu, which has been very, very great to see. It's always great showing people these things for the first time, and especially in a group setting. For me particularly, I feel like a lot of things in my life are defined by watching them in a good group or in a public setting type thing. So watching tokusatsu with other people is just a really great energy, because it's so much fun, and it's so all over the place in tone and in what's happening moment to moment. And if you're not familiar with it, like if you're not super in the know, it can be really intense. But then they catch you. You get caught up. You're like, oh, this is so silly. It's so wild. Oh, why am I crying? It's very much it's very similar. Gintama and stuff like that, where it's it's all ridiculous funs and games, and then you're crying over a vending machine after 10 minutes. It's like that's how they get you.
I mean, there was the Gintama chapter that's like, you can never accept the Super Sentai team when they first start, but then by the time the series ends, you don't want them to go anywhere.
One of the realest title cards of a show with tremendous title cards. One of the realest ones I've ever seen. It's so true. You're like, oh, I'm not feeling the new season, and then it's like,
So
yeah, it's especially appropriate too. I feel like just because like you said, like there's just an energy to tokusatsu in general, and like I feel like every time, like every tokusatsu show has like those moments where it's like that image of like the three guys like bouncing from their chair, like pointing, like they did the thing, and like it's just it's so good to revel in that energy with other people.
Yeah, I think the way that I usually describe it to people is that we had at least I'm in the U.S., so like we had a tradition of live action superhero stuff that could be silly and also kind of sweet in a way. If you watch the old like 66 Batman, it is completely and utterly over the top.
So campy.
And it's absolutely campy, but it's very cognizant of what it is, and it occasionally laps back around. It's so ridiculous that it occasionally is poignant, or it will catch you off guard, like you're not really expecting it. But it's very aware of what it's doing, and it's very committed to the bit. Like whatever they're doing, no matter how ridiculous it is, there's a sense of commitment, and there's really no cynicism about it. There's no fourth wall breaking or like, this is ridiculous, or like, what's your name? None of this kind of, I don't know, I guess Joss Whedon-esque type writing where you're like, your name is Destroyer Man? That's ridiculous. And there's none of that kind of cynicism about it. It's really, even if it's the most absurd event that could possibly be happening, there's a commitment to it, to what's going on. And tokusatsu very much is in that oeuvre, and it continues that tradition. So you watch a show like, say, I don't know, one of my favorites, a relatively recent series, Resha Sentai Tokyuger, which is about magical trains that are rainbow colored, and they're powered by children's imagination, and they fight an evil train line, the Shadow Line, full of these steampunk, like gothic Victorian monsters, and it's all about like trying to save children's dreams with your magic trains. And you're like, this is the most absurd thing anyone has ever described to me, but you will cry, like you will be invested, and you'll get hyped because you're like, oh, like they have all their train gear and stuff, and they start switching colors and changing tracks, and you're like, you get totally into it, and you buy it because the show, there's a commitment. They lean all the way in to the absurdity, and it's actually quite amazing, and it's really refreshing, especially if you're used to a sort of more typical kind of cynical edge to a lot of sort of American style superheroics. That's just like, I guess, gritty or a little more. They seem. It's all like, oh, this is just kid stuff, except it's really gritty and dark now. Like it's just that tone isn't really present. I mean, it is in some sense. Like if you watch Garo and stuff, that's a little more like edgy, adult, grimdark type stuff. But the general tokusatsu vibe is to just be committed to the bit, and it's really refreshing to see, and it's really exciting, and it will catch you off guard. And I think that's what makes it so much fun. And the suit creativity and the monsters and the visual effects and the practical effects. It's really kind of a wonder to see in 22-minute television designed to sell talking belts to 6-year-olds. It's like, wow, this is such a production.
Yeah, and I mean, that's actually a great way to transition over to me, because I don't remember too well what my first Power Rangers was. I think I was at the age where I was watching like the very first one on TV, and then I don't remember where I fell off at, and then I just didn't touch it at all until I started dating Jekka. Then she was like, "We have to watch Tokyuger."
Nice.
So we did watch Tokyuger. I'm like, oh, okay. This is from. I like that you said that because like this is me that I watched Power Rangers. I liked it. Okay, I mean, but I mostly forgotten about it, and I am into that like cynical side of things. And then I watched Tokyuger. I'm like, at first I was like, this is really silly. I don't know if I could really jive with this, but then that magic episode, like, I don't know, like 15 or 16 hit, and I'm just like, okay, no, I'm really invested in what's going on.
Yeah.
like, and we finished that. We finished Tokyuger. We were watching, and then another friend of ours really into like Kamen Rider watching. We watched Den-O with him.
Oh, so Den-O's a good one.
Oh yeah, it's super good, and it's funny because they're both written by Yasuko Kobayashi, who's mostly known for
writer.
Yep, she's known for JoJo and Attack on Titan.
Wait, did she? This is a sort of sidetrack. I think she wrote for Garo too.
Yes, she did.
I fucking love Garo. It's like Shadow the Hedgehog, the video game.
Man, the armor and stuff in that show is so good. I mean, you can really just appreciate it like on such a surface level. It's just like, whoa, cool suits, right? Like if that's all you're here for, you're also gonna really love it. But Garo has some really cool wolf armor suits. It's ridiculous.
Oh, the first season especially is just like there's just shit that just is there. It's not really explained. Like Goten, the fucking like I almost said horse. Is it a horse? I don't even know if it's a horse, but like it's like a steed. And like he like rides it, and he does this thing where like he like waves his sword, and it turns into like a freaking, I don't even know what the thing is called, like a Zweihander type giant thing, and I'm just like, this is insane. I love it.
What the heck?
Oh man, I need to get into Garo. I've only seen a little bit of the anime that you showed, Marion. That's really the exposure to Garo I have.
The first anime is like amazing. The second one is, I don't know. The third one is back to good.
Okay. To get into
all I've watched of Garo is just the openings from the first season of the anime.
That's good.
Also valid though. I mean, plenty of work, as I only know from their really cool openings and endings, right? So.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's
never go wrong with Jam Project.
Yeah.
Also, those Takei designs are beautiful.
Yep. But
I think that's another thing you guys bring up that's really important. That there's a lot of overlap here between. It seems like such a niche outside interest, I guess, but a lot of people who work if you're in the tokusatsu space, you're probably also a fan of stuff like anime or traditional daikaiju films and stuff. And you're going to see a lot of the same creators bouncing around, writing this show or that show. Like, oh, the guy that wrote Gurren Lagann, he also wrote Kamen Rider Fourze. Like, you're going to see a lot of overlap between these characters and actors and voice actors and voice actresses and stuff. And it's like that's really exciting to see them work in slightly different spaces or see their themes pop up here and there. And you'll also get to appreciate where a lot of references in anime and stuff, because you just assume like obviously anime is made for a primarily Japanese audience, and they usually assume that you are aware of these huge properties that Toei puts out, but they're not as well known in certain other spaces, especially like here in the US. Unless it's through Power Rangers, but those references are everywhere.
Yeah, the overlap really helps too, because I feel like something you touched on earlier was how part of the appeal of tokusatsu is how everything is like taken very seriously, but even like the most ridiculous things, and that reminds me a lot of like JoJo and like how that kind of approach to media, I feel. There's a lot of appeal to that for people who are into anime in general. Like I feel like that's just part of the entertainment. Yeah, you also have people like Yasuko Kobayashi, who's like she's in both areas, like doing work. So that's awesome.
Yeah. But
I think this is the perfect time now to transition into the actual manga. I was surprised that this was originally actually in Weekly Shonen Sunday. I was impressed, actually. This is actually my first series by Shotaro Ishinomori. He's known for he's like the other like huge mangaka that's like a household name that's not Osamu Tezuka, because he brought us like Kamen Rider, the manga, the Cyborg 009, and Kikaider, and like he's just very influential. So yeah, this book is basically like split in two parts. The first part is the Weekly Shonen Sunday chapters, and then there's like another part that was published in Shogaku Gonensei, which is like a magazine for like fifth graders.
Yeah, fifth graders.
Yeah. I actually, like, Jack and I went down the whole rabbit hole of like trying to figure out what the Shogakukan like magazines are. We didn't find out much, but they're like they go in and out of production like all of the time, and it's really amazing to see them. Like I think there's only a couple of them, and most of them are like known for like spin-offs of like Pokemon, Kirby, and stuff like that. So
oh man,
yeah, like aren't most of like Shogakukan's like Kodomo magazines now just the Koro-Koros?
Yeah, Koro Comics, Koro Ichiban, Koro Aniki, which Aniki is like the edgier, grim, darker cousin, which that's really interesting to think about.
Grim Dark Kids comics, I'm into it.
It's Koro Shadow the Hedgehog edition.
I'm ready. Inject it in my veins.
I mean, like they're like not to derail too much, but there's a manga / anime called Crockett, and it ran in the original Koro, and now there's like I forget the title of the new one. I think it's like Crockett Unlimited or Crockett something like that, and it's basically the characters grown up, and it's like it's still got this. I mean, it's still got the same sense of humor and everything like that from the original, but now like originally Crockett was like this little kid who's really like energetic and everything like that. Now he's like guts and like
okay,
and he's like super like serious and everything like that, and every panels of him is like just like glaring at things. So and I read like the first one, like Crockett Black Label, that's what
Black Label?
Yes, that's what it's called. I remember the only reason I don't want to go too far off topic, but the only reason why I know about it is because I had a Japanese pen pal who was like really into Bomberman 2, and they sent me a tape, and like they taped over some Crockett episodes, so like the last 5 minutes of one episode was on there. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool looking. That's how I got to know the anime. And then I found the manga. I was like, oh, it's still continuing. And I was like, this isn't what I was used to.
I just looked it up, and this looks so hype.
It's like, the original is so, like, I think that Shogakukan has most of the anime up on their YouTube channel. I mean, of course, it's not subtitled or anything, but it's your typical...
this is animated by OLM, or OLM.
Yes, by OLM. And
Pokemon Studio.
Yep, and I think it's written by the Berserk people too. Like one of the Berserk writers is the one, because OLM did the original Berserk anime. So yeah, so a few people from that worked on the Crockett too. But I mean, it's the typical kids anime and everything like that. So Black Label, just looking at it being just what it is.
Like if you compare Black Label's like first cover to the first cover of Crockett, it's like this looks like a different manga.
It's amazing, but yeah, that's Shogakukan, the like magazines for like the different ages and everything like that. So
holy shit, I'm looking at the cover right now. Oh my god.
I have the first volume, so we could definitely do an episode about it eventually.
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, that's on the table, I guess. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, I mean, I think we're talking about it's by Shotaro Shinomori, who is an incredibly important and I think he's an incredibly important mangaka and creator across the board. Although I think, I mean, obviously studied under Osamu Tezuka, and Osamu Tezuka obviously has a rep, at least in U.S. fandom, as being like one of the icons, right? Although Shotaro Shinomori has a huge body of work, I think larger by raw page count, and he is, if he is a known figure, at least in my experiences in U.S. fandom, if people know him, he's the Kamen Rider guy, Right, which I think is, I mean, that's not inaccurate. He did create Kamen Rider, but I think it's a bit reductive of his just sort of vast body of work and the importance and the influence that he's had, and that many of his creations have become worldwide icons. And I mean, just Super Sentai, which obviously gave birth to Power Rangers alone, we're talking multi-billion-dollar, huge influence, references and everything from, Super Mario RPG with the Axum Rangers and stuff like that. Kamen Rider, this huge other element that's a big part of his legacy. Cyborg 009, another just like landmark work, terrific manga, multiple anime adaptations, even down to something like, Kikaider. If you've ever seen Kikaider, he's a red and blue half and half warrior, kind of android warrior who his call out to change is, switch on, right? Which if you have a Nintendo Switch, which I would imagine some listeners probably do, it is like the switch in your hands is directly a reference to Kikaider. Like, so you can thank Shitaro Shinomori for, some of the aesthetics that you're holding probably in your hand right now, right? So like his work is really, really big in terms of raw quality and quantity, and he's hugely influential. So I think it's not inaccurate to call him the Kamen Rider guy, but I feel like that is a bit reductive and doesn't really reflect. I guess people don't. When you talk about Tezuka or something, right? I think there's this sort of impetus or history element to like, well, I should probably read Astro Boy at some point, right? Like people probably say like, I really should read Astro Boy. It's one of those that you're just supposed to read. I don't think there's that same. I don't sense a lot of the same push from people for like Shotaro Shinomori's works, and I think that's a real detriment to their understanding of the medium. Like, if you want to understand the medium, you probably want to read the people who are influential, and obviously, I want people to read Tezuka too. But I feel like Shinomori is a really important figure, and he's more than just the Kamen Rider guy, although he is also the Kamen Rider guy.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, especially because like I was aware of him, like mostly because like as a kid, like I watched episodes of 009 with my cousins in Dominican Republic, and that was really fun. When I learned later on, like that he was the creator of that, I was like, oh, neat. Like, I'm gonna probably like dip into that. Like, once I have like a like a better situation in terms of like space for more books and stuff. So getting to like read this as like this is like my first real intro into his body of work, I was impressed. Like the like his sense for paneling and like page composition was like actually very, what's the word, I guess, like succinct. It was like very straight to the point, but it felt like no space was wasted. And like all of his action scenes, like I feel like they were really easy to follow. And even though it's like like early like 80s manga and like earlier than that, they all have like this kind of these like round faces and limbs and stuff that like kind of stem from like I guess like Tezuka being kind of like a progenitor of that kind of style. But like he's able to get away with, like, even though a lot of these like soft like rounded features or whatever in his character designs, it doesn't feel like that childish in a sense, even though this is like aimed at kids. I was like really impressed with just the presentation.
I feel like I mean, not to go back too far, but I feel like because Ishinomori has this huge catalog of work, it is possible that you've seen something of his without realizing it. So
that's true.
It is a thing where it's like, where do you tell somebody to begin with it? Like with Osamu Tezuka, of course, you can just say Astro Boy, and people are like, okay. Even people who've never really experienced Astro Boy know him. I mean, he's like almost the Goku of that. Like, if you say Goku's name, people know, okay, it's Dragon Ball. It's kind of like Astro
That's
Boy.
A good analogy, to be honest.
Yeah, so like for me, my first Ishinomori was actually Kikaider on Adult Swim. I think it was Tsunami or Adult Swim, one of them. They showed like not the old Kikaider, but like the I want to say it was like a 2000 that they redid the Kikaider anime. They made it like, I have a feeling, I haven't seen the original Kikaider, but I have a feeling the new anime is like much darker and edgier. But I think it was done in like 2000s or something like that. And I saw that on Adult Swim, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this. And I mean, of course, I saw a little bit of 009, but that was less a thing that I saw everything of, and more was like, oh, once in a while, Toonami it'd be on, and I'd be there, and I'd watch it. But Kikaider was the one that was just like, I actually watched the whole thing to completion, and it was just like, I really like this. But I never really went into his body of work until, reading Gorenger, and now I wish I had.
Yeah.
Because I definitely see a lot of, like Grant was saying, a lot of the influences, because if people know me on Twitter, I'm a huge Bomberman fan, and the villains in like one of the early games are basically like Gorenger. And I mean, I do their picture in the chat, but like,
oh yeah,
that's them. They're basically, and even one of the Bomberman, one of the earlier Bomber anime, it was partially written by Toshiki Inoue, who wrote Jetman. So it is it is just that kind of crossover. And now that I've read this, I'm like, it's clear that the guys that did the Bomberman games were inspired by this too. So it's like it is that kind of cascading effect.
Yeah, for sure. I think speaking to the style of just like the sort of, I mean, they're very Tezuka-like, I guess you would say, right? Like if you've seen anything of Tezuka's and that sort of really round, soft style and sort of cartoonish, I always feel like his characters look like they could, if you were to pull out like an old Popeye comic or something, they'd fit right in the sort of general, like ovally kind of feel to them. And obviously, and Ishinomori is doing something very similar. Like you can tell, like if you open up a page and say this guy, studied under Tezuka, you're like, no, that makes sense. But his craft, especially for I think setting and some of the like mechanical designs and some of the environmental work, is incredibly dark and also incredibly detailed, which I think really lends a really strong look, and also an interesting, I guess, dichotomy between these sort of like almost round, squishy, kind of characters.
It's a good contrast.
It's a really interesting contrast too, I think. But it works. I think it works really well, and I think that sort of they almost kind of have like a squishy, kind of stretchy feel in action scenes. Like the bodies really like kind of almost like elongate and bow out, like they feel. Not Stretch Armstrong style, but they have kind of an elasticity to them that they're not necessarily quote unquote on model all the time, and I think that's obviously to the benefit of the work. And then contrasted with these very terrifying looking machines that could never exist, and these like really grim or really evocative environmental settings and stuff. It's a really interesting feel, and I think visually it holds up really, really well. If you're like, here comes a 60-year-old manga, or I guess, 50, 60-year-old manga, you're probably not like, this is going to be really high level craft, but it truly is. Like there's a reason this guy is so popular, because it's like you can't not read this work and be like, this is really good stuff.
Yeah, like I'm just flipping through like these pages, and like spoilers for not really. Like my favorite part is actually the first half, the Shonen Sunday chapters, and like, oh my god, like on page 90, 92, 93, there's like the spread of like this guy on like I don't even know what this is. It's like a Pegasus robot thing, and he's just like he finds the crew, and like he has like a searchlight on, and it's like the whole page is blacked out except for him, where the light is pointing at, and the team, and like they're like looking up at him, but from his perspective, he's like on the lower left part of the page. Like it's like it's such a well composed page. Like I love this stuff.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, you can see you see the outlines of the cave and everything like that, and you see, it is really. I like that Ishinomori does that a lot. Like my big thing with especially shonen manga is where they use art to kind of say more than they would with like actual text. You don't get that a lot with shonen manga because I guess they feel like I have to explain everything through. The characters all have to have dialogue explaining the exact scenario and everything like that. But I really liked in reading through this that there were just several pages, not even just pages, but like just panels where it's just a character's expression, like he's reacting to something, or like
their body language.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that while reading through this.
And even if they didn't, at least we have the very even if like we didn't have the expressive body language telling us, we had a very nice helpful panel saying go Ranger Mutts, there's nowhere left to run, and we do see that.
I was going to say another thing. I think a lot of people assume, because their experiences with Power Rangers, and that does have I mean, it is both childish and also just not always the best quality. I think and it's also very formulaic, right? It's kind of that triple threat of it is for children. It's not the best quality all the times, even for children's programming, at least Power Rangers. And it also is super formulaic. There's, Monster of the Week type stuff. And I think that's kind of a situation where people assume they already, like, I bet I could read 1 or 2 chapters. I bet I could just kind of I bet it's the same thing, chapter after chapter after chapter. And, it's not going to be that exciting. And it's going to be, save the day, teamwork, and all that kind of stuff. But if you read this material, expecting a certain thing, I think you're probably going to be surprised by some of the stuff that goes on. It is not even though I personally love Monster of the Week type stuff. I mean, I love tokusatsu and anime. Like, there's a lot of that, right? And I'm fine with it. But this is not a formulaic type. I mean, obviously there's new enemies with new robots, and that's pretty frequent. But the some of the themes and some of the I guess someone might call them a deconstruction, if you will. I don't really like that term, but it challenges a lot of tropes and a lot of ideas very quickly. It doesn't really fall into a rut, and it examines some of the motivations and stuff of the characters. There's a particular scene I'm thinking of involving government secrets and the ethical nature of even protecting those secrets. Are you even really doing the right thing? And that's a lot more than you'd expect from something that is the sort of breeding ground, or at least the initial seed of so much formulaic, I guess, non-critical type text that would come after it. And I guess it reminds me, I think a lot of stuff like, say, Mazinger, where people assume, oh, well, Mazinger inspired all the super robot stuff. I understand, either through experience or just through the general osmosis, cultural osmosis, that stuff is super formulaic. So I bet this is also super formulaic, and I don't need to engage with it. But Go Nagai has no chill, right? There's no brakes on that train. Mazinger is wild from the jump, and it's constantly upsetting any expectations you have for what's going to happen. It never has a formula, even though a lot of the things it inspires do have a formula. It really doesn't. And I think this is a similar space. If you're coming into this expecting, I bet they're just going to fight, this week it's the trash monster, this week it's the sewer monster, this week it's the fish monster. There's a lot more going on here than that. It's not necessarily super dense, but it's not really basic formulaic stuff, quote unquote, just for kids.
Yeah, I was really surprised at the opening that they killed everybody. I guess I kind of came in sort of expecting it, since this is way back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And I did kind of think, okay, I came into this not expecting just what I saw, what we'll see on TV today. But yeah, that still hit me out of left field. His dad's gonna get up, right? Right? And then they're and the way it's just kind of casually, just not casually, he's oh, my dad's dead. It's not a thing where it's a whole long sense of mourning where it's oh, I can't possibly take up the suit now or anything, or I'm looking for vengeance. No, it's just his dad's dead, and he's just okay, now I have to take this thing. The whole thing starts off, he's a reluctant hero. I don't want to do this stuff. You just threw this stuff at me, and now you're telling me to put on a suit and go fight dudes? Where did this come from? I just want to go take a Yoko on a date. Come on, man. And then his dad just dies, and then the next, it could come off as a little bit contrived. I can imagine somebody being wow, your dad just died, you're just okay with this now. But at the same time, I think it is because it doesn't dwindle on, kind of dwell on those story beats too long. that it is just like that charisma keeps the story moving along, and he meets the others, and I love that. Like, I'm almost positive that like I forget the guy's name, and I'm flipping through to find out now, but the guy that gives out the quizzes, I'm almost positive Aoyama used that in Detective Conan for Agatha, and how he'll quiz there's a staple in every Conan movie where like Agatha will give the kids a quiz to try to figure out on their own, and then Conan will be like, oh god, this again. It's gotten to a point where like one movie, like he solves the quiz like right away, and it comes, and then like Gaga says, that was too easy. Okay, let's do another one. It goes like, yeah, no, not this time. But I am almost positive that like Aoyama probably read this in his youth and remembered it with Conan, which goes back to what we were saying about how influential this stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all, but now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, it's the exact same kind of like bad pun type thing that Agasa does.
Yeah, and what I like also is like this is kids manga, but it's also like it's not like it's like shying away from like actual topics. Like there's like stuff about like environmentalism later on. There's like the moral quandary of like, oh, this guy was it the Blue Ranger? His best friend betrayed him by like selling the secret that or government secrets or whatever. And the guy was he was like, oh. I'll actually just read the page because I really like this. Say a guy works for a food company. Is he going to quit his job just because he's putting harmful additives into his family's bodies? Do you think a guy could give up a job at an automotive company just because their cars give off exhaust fumes? And his friends like, or the Ranger's like, you're just blowing smoke. It doesn't matter how you try to justify it. Wrong is wrong. Come on, Mochizuki. Do you have any idea what the Black Cross Army is doing? And the guy's just like, of course I do. They're an international group of spies. What's so bad about stealing and selling information? Let me ask you this. If it's so bad for this intel to be stolen, who made it in the first place? Who created these secrets that are supposed to topple enemy nations? What's wrong with stealing them? And like having like a conversation like that in like a kid's manga, I'm like, damn, this is nice. And then literally like it turns into a shootout, and the guy has to like shoot his best friend, and he's dead. And like he cries, and of course, they still have their tanks, and like he's getting shot by a tank. Crazy.
Yeah, I think that chapter is like probably my favorite out of the entire volume.
Absolutely,
just because of like the messaging, and also just like it was a really good like focal point for the Blue Ranger. Like, I think Akira is his name, but yeah.
I like this one too. Just it is just, and then after he shoots his friend, it's not like he wants to die too. And he's like, I'm going to join you and everything. I just love that trope. But like, okay, I'm going to join you soon. And like, I mean, but yeah, at first you would read that conversation. It does come off as a little bit silly, but then it's like at the same time,
my man was kind of fitting.
Yeah, it was like I actually kind of thought about him, like he's not wrong though.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it reminds me actually of a lot of the storylines in Japan Inc., like Ishimori's like later like comic where he's essentially readapting an economics textbook.
Huh. Oh right. Yeah. You were showing this to you had this.
Is that the one with like people having sex or whatever? And it's like this is an economics book. What is going on?
It's a it's a business transaction, and they're just like a dude in the yes,
and like it's explaining how like more people are going to this like strip club because of the economy improving. But like
the golden days.
Like it has a lot of like very same messages of kind of like challenging like these like two sides of like a stance. Like that was more obviously focused on like financial issues in Japan, but it was kind of interesting seeing that even in like Ishinomori's like more kind of toku work, that those types of messages are still there.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the influence from that.
I didn't have high expectations for this, honestly, but it was way better than I was expecting.
Yeah, like I'm serious. Like that for these first half of chapters is like the Shonen Sunday ones are like I fucking top tier, dude.
Yeah, I really like those ones. That's not to really diss the fifth grader ones, but like
it's just different.
You can definitely tell they're playing up more of the detective aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I like the Shonen Sunday chapters better. I mean, I like the whole thing as a package, honestly, and I think
that is like because it's like a digest of like this is like 2 different iterations by the same author. Like they even have like different origin stories.
Yeah.
Like I find that fascinating. Even though like in my review I'm like they didn't have to change it, but
yeah, I remember
also one thing, I like how like in the 5th grader chapters, there's that one enemy that looks like Solaire from Dark Souls. And then when he opens up his face is just like a freaking like mirror panel.
Yes.
He's praising the sun.
Oh my god. Yes, like that's the kind of ridiculousness that you have to have so much charisma to pull off, because that would be so dumb otherwise. But I was just like, I'm in it. I'm in for this.
Like, they literally beat him by just covering the sun with their shadows.
Yes, it was so good.
Beautiful.
Oh, I was about to say, I think this is actually my first 7 Seas release. I don't think I've read anything from them. Well,
oh shit.
Well,
maybe...
wait. Die Dark is them, right? Or is that?
Yeah,
okay. So this will be my second then.
Wow, that's surprising.
Sakaki, just to culture yourself, you should probably read the Go Nagai Devilman manga.
I think you'd like that more than the
you watch them.
Yeah, I think I think I will, because like if I've wanted to get into Go Nagai, so
Go Nagai is such a madman.
He is.
I'm like pissed that fucking 7 Seas, the cowards, they won't license Harenchi Gakuen.
Because everything besides Devilman didn't sell well. Well, I guess the newer stuff sold okay, but the older stuff did not sell well.
Yeah, whatever. I still
Cutie
bought
Bunny
it.
did not do well.
I still have it.
I have it too, but it didn't do well.
I'm sorry, it's my fault for not getting to Go Nagai sooner. If I had, then I could have saved him.
Fuck you.
I mean, hey, we just gotta hope that the new classic collection stuff does well. Then maybe they'll go back.
Yeah. Oh man, now I'm thinking about Cutie Honey.
I feel like as much as I have like misgivings about Ginton, I've learned so much about the guy and Ishinomori just from all the parodies it does.
I think that's the interesting thing about Ishinomori is that, like, even if you haven't seen a single one of his works, like, you get it, like, somehow from osmosis of just, like, watching anime or reading manga.
Yeah, and the guy has that thing where it's like the Tezuka system or whatever, where he just recycles characters and it works.
Yeah.
Oh, the star
Violence
system,
Jack. Yes. Violence Jack.
Yeah, I think Go Nagai also is a great creator to reference Ishinomori with, because I think, especially thanks to Devilman Crybaby. Well, I was going to say that's recent, but that's 3 years ago now, which means anime fans have probably already forgotten about it. But the recent resurgence of Go Nagai back in the conversation, thanks to things like Devilman Crybaby, I think there's a little more respect on his name, so to speak, and a little more gravitas there. And I think Ishinomori is in the same kind of cohort and is a good comparison point.
Mm-hmm. They're both just very. They just have such a wide range of work. I forgot what the word is.
Prolific?
Prolific, yes.
Yeah. If only we could get more of it in English.
Yeah. It's really exciting that we got this at all, to be perfectly honest. And the hardback treatment, like, I mean, honestly, the past few years have been, I'm going to promise not to talk too much about Fist of the North Star, but it's been really great to see so many classic works, Gorenger and Captain Harlock and all these Space Battleship Yamato. Like, we're seeing a lot of classic works become available, either the manga or the anime. I mean, like, we're even streaming. You can just go stream Armored Trooper Votoms if you want. Like, you can just go click and do that. Yes. And it's like, what a world to live in, where it's really much easier to be a fan of classic works and easily access it than maybe it's ever been. So that's really cool, I think.
Yeah, man, it's awesome.
I like that. Like Ishinomori, obviously this was way back in the day, but like when the one ranger, the one guy was always giving the big guy the riddles, and like when he doesn't get it or when he gets it, and it's like, oh, that's dumb. Like there's like one panel I'm looking at where he just like flies across the like panel, and it's like you don't see that in like even modern anime nowadays, and it's really sad to see that kind of thing just disappear to face faults and everything like that. I always found them really interesting, although I realized back in the day when I was watching anime with my friends, they're like, why do they always do that? I was like, it's just part of that's just what they do. They baseball when somebody says something dumb. And I love that it's back, and not back, but I like just seeing it again in this.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the visual language in the same way that you have the bits like in old Looney Tunes or something where it's like, he fired all those shots and missed me, and they go drink water and it all leaks out of their sides. Out of the big, it's like, why do they do that? It's one of the bits we do, right? It's just part of the tropes and the language and the visual language that we're doing here.
Yeah.
It's just a quirky little thingy, that's how you distinguish characters. I want to like segue into the chapter about, or the set of chapters about the whole environmental crisis thing with like the giant freaking robot kaiju thing. It looks so good. It's such a round boy. I love him.
Yes.
Did no wrong. Just done no wrong.
Literally no wrong.
With solar power.
I like that we just get so many close-ups of him too. It's like he's such a pretty young man.
He's a growing boy.
Yeah, I think
oh yeah, go.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, I think the obvious link here is that just like with, it's sort of a weird heritage because Gorenger. I think a lot of people assume Super Sentai. They assume Power Rangers and the giant robots and all that, but the sort of Daikaiju robot big combiner thing isn't immediately in the cards, and you can see that in Gorenger. They don't have a giant combining robot mecha thing like you might expect, but there's still a close connection here with giant monster flicks, your Daikaiju films, Godzilla, and Gamera, and so on and so forth, which obviously a lot of them have a very strong environmental message that is just par for the course. Godzilla being powered by nuclear radiation and being very much about nuclear weapons and American imperialism and the sort of man's sins and all that. So it's not surprising to see it here, and I think it's there's a lot of works that do it, and I think it works really well every time because you see all the city destruction and all that, and it's hard not to draw comparisons and feel moved by it to some degree just because it's the scale of the destruction, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting the way it was handled because the whole thing of like, the reason this was this crisis even happened was because of people like discovering like renewable energy, and apparently that's a bad thing. What about fossil fuels? That's a whole market. And like it's something like it's a conversation that's still going on like even to this day. Like if you look at how like the topic of like gas prices and like how like oil is like such an industry, is I don't know how to really eloquently put it, but it's still relevant stuff like this, even though this is like 50 years ago.
The two industries are still constantly at odds, like even after all this time.
Well, and it seems cartoonishly evil, right? That that moneyed groups would build a giant robot to destroy competing businesses. But I think we're all quite aware, especially in 2021, that evil is very obvious and often quite overt. And this actually feels like it could be a documentary, right? Like if you were to tell me, if I was to wake up tomorrow and be like, ExxonMobil has constructed a giant dinosaur and is attacking solar power plants, I'd be like, well, that sounds about right. Like it just wouldn't shock me, right? So I feel like even though it's exaggerated,
sure is 2021.
Perhaps a younger version of myself would have found it ridiculous, but as I've gotten, as time has gone on, I'm like, this maybe isn't quite so far-fetched. The idea that corporate war and even doing the right thing for the planet, there are people who are monetarily invested in actively not doing the right thing for the planet, and they might attack other businesses to keep that from happening. So yeah, that's not that shocking to me.
All mergers and acquisitions will now be decided by kaiju fights.
I mean, listen, the minute they decide to use a dinosaur to defend fossil fuels, I was all in.
That's I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII should have took a lesson from this.
Oh my god.
Love apolitical video games like Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid. I love it. Free from modern politics.
Oh my God.
Yeah, let's play me some apolitical shit like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I love it. Not an ounce of politics in that. Not a drop.
No, I mean, seriously, it's fine. They just were like the bad guys were just like, "Hey, do you want to talk to me about dinosaurs today?" And that's what happened. They sent they just wanted to talk to someone about dinosaurs. It had nothing to do with politics. Like with all the zoom ins and everything, Devin, no kidding. But it is just like Ishinomori is that kid on the playground, just like, look at this cool dinosaur I got.
Wow, it's so big. Yeah, I know. It's the one that you put it in water and it soaks up the water and grows bigger.
Well, I think there is something to be said for not only is it like a relevant message, but it looks super cool when it's happening. Like, we all know edutainment isn't fun. Like, brushing your teeth is important, but if I'm going to read a manga about brushing my teeth, I'm like, I don't know if I really care about this. But like, this is an important message, but it also has a really cool robot blowing up with some extremely exciting environmental destruction and a super cool flying jet with flames on the side flying in and shooting bullets at it and stuff. Like, it's wicked awesome. Like, this is great. Like, messages are fine, but it also has to have
with flames.
Yeah, it has to have some level of execution, and I think that's part of what makes it all so exciting and so riveting. It's the same like with the Godzilla films. Like, obviously, there's an important message to be had about environmentalism and imperialism and stuff, but it's also really cool to see somebody in a rubber dinosaur suit throw somebody else into a cardboard skyscraper and watching it go like this is really cool.
God, yes. I love it's just so to the point. I love it, especially because we get like beautiful lines such as, "In a contest of size, nothing can beat the power of the sun." Thank you. Yeah, I did not know that.
That just sounds like a Sunny D commercial.
It does. It does. So
it's definitely one of those things where
dinosaur melted because it didn't have vitamin C.
I feel like if it were a more, I guess the one thing that is pretty different, at least to me, reading it as in this era where I've certainly read a lot more manga, I feel like a more modern work would dwell on certain elements more. Like you can feel like, okay, this would be 2 or 3 chapters, or this would be an arc, or we'd have more introspection at some point. Not that these things wouldn't happen, but they do move a little quick. It is pretty fast, I think, by modern standards, for some of the stuff that it's wrestling with. So, you're not going to have super long. Like, there's not a 10 chapter arc here or anything like that.
I feel like that's also to its benefit though, because like the pace is so quick. A lot of the art is, I feel like Ishinomori like goes out of his way to make set pieces, and like the scene where it's like they're like releasing bombs over the robot, and it's in the water, and like you see the waves like billowing upwards and stuff. Like it's really cool just how, because everything is happening so quickly, we're like just jumping between scenes, and just like the art is stellar. I think he goes out of his way to make sure that all of these individual scenes like actually pop out.
And what I really like about that though is like it doesn't feel cramped at all. Like there's enough breathing. Like I said, I mean, I've been joking. There's plenty of time to see this dinosaur in action. It's not like there's a panel or two of, he blows up one building and then there's a bunch of exposition. No, it's like several pages where it's just this guy just blowing shit up, and it's really great because you get the idea of the scale, like Marion said, the set piece. You get the idea of the scale of what's going on, but at the same time, the story is also moving pace too. And I mean, I have seen it I've seen it where like a lot of these manga, especially Ishinomori, they're more supposed to be like complementary to the TV show. So obviously there was kind of a thing where he wasn't like, this wasn't supposed to be meant to be a series, more or less. He's just like, oh, okay, I'm watching a TV show and I got this, I could read the manga too. a little bit. And, you know, the TV show is what you're supposed to watch. I mean, not really supposed to, but in the sense of that's the main story. This is just kind of a side story you can kind of have too for like the super fans and everything like that. But that would explain why it's so short.
Mm-hmm.
But it still
It's like supplementary. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it still tells a complete story in and of itself, which again, I have to give kudos to Ishinomori for doing that. Because there are
that's
plenty
what makes
of like,
that satisfying.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are plenty of like tie-in anime, the tie-in manga for like anime or TV shows or whatever, and you know they've come off as like, oh well, this is only part of a bigger media franchise. You get everything else, but this feels like you could read it by itself, and it still feels like a complete product.
Yeah, I feel like these collections of stories, it's because like you just said, like they're telling like at least a complete story, and he knows that like this is not really gonna be the I guess like like the Bible for the series, right? It's not gonna be like what everything going forward is gonna be based off of. He has the liberty to actually go into like telling the story. It doesn't have to be like how Grant said. For people who are exposed to this kind of media, or for like Power Rangers and like Sentai and stuff, you usually think like, oh, it's going to be a Monster of the Week type thing or whatever. But like specifically because this is the comic version, you can break free from that, and that's what makes it like entertaining because you're getting different stories.
Yeah, even within this volume, there's basically two different stories being told, right? Like there's two different kind of takes on the origin and stuff like that, and I think that's. I think it's very indicative of obviously what tokusatsu stuff will become, because coming down the line, right, if you're a person who watches tokusatsu, you know that every year basically the new Super Sentai or new Kamen Rider is going to come out, and it's going to be 40 to 50 episodes, and it's going to be its own thing, and it's done. And maybe there's some tie-in movies, and maybe there's a little bit of ancillary media, or maybe there's a bit more if it's a really popular season. But there's really not a whole lot in the way of continuity. You don't necessarily need to know what happened in last year's season. There's not 500 chapters to catch up on, or 500 episodes or whatever. It's pretty self-contained. It's assumed that you're a 6-year-old watching superheroes for the first time, and it's brand new to you. So it's kind of neat to see that explored here too, even from the original creator, right? Like that there's the show, and then there's like a couple different versions of the manga here, and really kind of just exploring the space of just masked heroes and color coordinated outfits.
Yeah. And it's cool too because like the way that the series works is like, oh, this is a black and white comic, but obviously to make the designs more distinctive, they have their unique masks and stuff. So the character design is really powerful.
Yeah, like each one of them really stands out in some particular way. Like you never get the idea, like even black and white, they're like, I can't tell the difference between them. I mean, from their visors to just like their body shapes and everything like that, you can definitely, and even just from looking at them, I'm on page 236 now, where they're like sitting underneath a flag, and all of them are there, and you can definitely tell who's who just from this spread of them.
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of how Shueisha's thing is. You should be able to tell a character from their silhouette,
right?
So
I think about that so much.
I admit I really didn't know about that until Gintama. Gintama has taught me so much.
You could never get away from Gintama.
I can't.
Gintama has so many life lessons.
10 years of translating it, and it still stand.
It's like bad BO. That's a Gintama level joke, right?
Stale platinum. Yes, I know.
All right, I guess we can transition now to talking about the second half. Do you guys have like any immediate thoughts about how like this is structured differently? It does stand out because like we got like two kind of like overarching stories in the span of like I'm assuming that all those pages were like they were published, the show I'm talking about, the weekly Shonen Sunday ones, that they were published like I don't know, maybe like 20-page chapters, or like a normal magazine did. But the fact that we got them kind of just with no breaks in between reminded me of like I don't know how out of the field this is going to come from, but like the Banana Fish volumes in English, where it's like I think I read like two of them, and like there were no like chapter breaks with like the chapter titles and stuff. It just felt like I was reading one whole story, but like two of them. So seeing like it was like split up here with like separate chapters, like directives, like I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the first half kind of reminded me of, say, like Saint Seiya, where like it was technically more chapters when it was released weekly, but they just like crunched it down. And like even when you're reading the Shonen Sunday portion, you can kind of tell just based on the art where the possible like weekly break was,
where the cliffhanger was.
Yeah, but it is interesting that like the second half, like that was in like the Kodama magazine, like that's more kind of broken up.
Yeah, and it does go for more of the whole spy thing, because Himitsu Sentai, it's secret team, right? I don't know what the actual word means actually, but it's cool. Like they're playing more into like that angle of like, hey, this is a group of like spies.
Yeah, like Secret Squad.
Secret Squad. Yeah, Himitsu Sentai. Yeah, Secret Squad.
Yeah, like I think the last chapter especially definitely gave me like this feels like a weird comparison, but Detective Conan vibes.
Yeah,
especially since like they literally end the chapter with like kind of just saying like case closed, and I'm like, oh, the pun, it's there.
No, you're right though. Like the whole vibe of the second half just gave me Detective Conan. Like one of the first one was they're trying to find this kidnapped girl, which was like one of Conan's very first cases after he shrunk. Right? Yeah. That was his first case after he shrunk, was like saving, I forget. It was some dignitary's daughter.
Yeah, it was like the girl of like some politician or rich guy.
Yeah, and that, the whole back half, just like besides of course the masked villains and everything like that, and even then like some of their silhouettes and stuff reminded me of like Conan too. So I mean, I know Aoyama has that he's got several different inspirations for Detective Conan, and chief among them is kind of like stuff like Doraemon,
Kamen Rider with like Kamen Yaiba.
Yeah, Shito no Joe with the way that Conan even speaks. Like, yeah, but I don't think he's ever said that Gorenger was like one of his inspirations, but this definitely had a lot of Conan vibes in it.
I really like the guy that VLord was talking about. He looks like Solaire from Dark Souls. And like just like the panel where he's talking, it's like the whole mirror house or like a mirror room or whatever. And just like his introduction, talking to AmpRen, he's just like, well, if it isn't AmpRen in the flesh, you fell right into our trap. I am the great mirror mask of the Black Cross Army. My orders are to kill every last one of you Gorenger brats. And now with you as my bait, I can lure your multicolored friends here and destroy you all. Like I love it so much.
It's so hokey. I love it. Like I can imagine him sounding exactly like that.
That Solaire guy too. It's like at first I was just like, oh, that mask kind of looks like Solaire, and then he's like literally using the power of the sun to like fight. So he's literally praising the sun.
Oh man, the way they beat him is just like they jump really high and they block the sun.
I just love the fact that he's like, he's like, okay, well, I'll pump poison gas into the room, and then like one of them's like, yeah, try. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and he does it. Like, oh right, he's got a mask on. Fuck.
That's more funny.
Oh, man,
I love that that's the resolution to that. Like, there's no like convoluted thing. Like, well, actually, I escaped while you weren't looking or something. No, he just stood there. I have a mask on.
Yeah, like I feel like you can definitely tell that those chapters were aimed at like a younger audience, just because of like a combination of their length and also the more like simplistic nature of them. But they're still like really fun, which I think like that's what I'm mainly looking for in like a manga like this.
Definitely. And I like the concepts too. the flying ships. I'm like, who comes up with this shit? Like,
I will say I like the robot case a lot though. That actually I didn't. It had the Conan-esque twist at the end where it's like you think it's this person, but it's actually this guy, and he has like, oh, he hurt himself to throw off the case, everybody off the case, and all of that. And it's just like, and I will say there was one part where it was like, the Red Ranger, he was saying, oh, it's easy enough to give yourself energy. They actually have a Family Guy style cutaway, like guys making his ramen, and then I guess the other guy wanted some. He's like, go make your own, and he like hits himself on the head with a frying pan. It was stuff like that. That was great.
I think that it also speaks to the, just like with any other superhero story, there's a lot of ways you can work with this material and a lot of kinds of stories you can tell. And I think people hyper focus on the cool toys and the giant monster fights, and those are clearly part of it. But you can tell a lot of different stories within this framework, whether they're detective mysteries or very obvious environmental tales or what have you. Like, there's a lot of ways you can spin it, and I think the enduring legacy of all the things that it inspired are like proof of that. It's pretty surprising. You're not just going to see, oh, we're hanging out at the base, monsters attacking, we defeat it. Lather, rinse, repeat. Like, you're going to get a pretty interesting breadth of stories here. There's no, even though this helps establish a lot of formulas, it itself is not formulaic, and I think that's really refreshing and exciting.
Yeah, I find that really interesting about it, because I will say I went into this thinking it would be formulaic and was constantly surprised by this. It does its own thing with the work, and is very interesting at that.
Yeah, I feel like as a package, like, this book was just, it's definitely worth an investment. Like, if you want like a piece of history, you should definitely buy this. I think it's well worth like the price tag, especially because it contextualizes a lot of things with, like, there's a foreword that like explains who Ishinomori is and like the history of Sentai and like how this was, like the first one or whatever. And there's also cultural notes at the back. Near the end, like, I feel this book did a great job of like I said, like, contextualizing this piece of history as like a comic. Like, I really enjoyed it, just being able to see the artwork and like the stories that Ishinomori was telling. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as saying this is like a great entry point to Ishinomori. I mean, definitely he's got a lot of stuff out there, so if this doesn't really tickle your fancy, then you can definitely go, and there's probably plenty of entry points to go in from. But if you wanted just something that's a very self-contained story and has really interesting characters and great artwork, you couldn't go wrong with this.
Yeah, I think that's really a huge draw, especially from the tokusatsu angle, where it's normally like, okay, I have to convince somebody to watch 50 episodes, continuity or not. That's, it's a lot on somebody's plate to ask, especially in this new zone or whatever. But this is, I mean, for a single purchase and a really nice hardback that gives you a variety of stories, isn't formulaic. It's a pretty good entry point to the tokusatsu space. You can see some of those early beginnings and see why. I mean, I think you can see why it's still engaging in 2021. Imagine what, nearly 50 years ago when this came out. I mean, it had to hit like lightning, right? Like, there's no surprise why it would go on to inspire so much. So both for exciting reading today, its accessibility in terms of just being a single volume, the quality of it, the history notes, it's hard to pass up just as a single thing. You don't have to collect. I love a lot of really long running stuff, but it's like, oh, you got to go, even with Fist of the North Star, I'm about to start pushing that real hard on people, but it's like, you got to be kind of, it's not the longest thing. It's not One Piece, but it's like, there's a pretty substantial body of purchases there to really get into it. But this is it's just the one thing. That's pretty convenient.
So yeah, if you like Sentai, if you like Tokusatsu, and you haven't read this, definitely buy it. Like, check it out, and or maybe you can get it for a friend who might appreciate it. It's out now. It's been out for like a month. Seven Seas published it. And I'd like to shout out the localization crew that we have here at the back of the book. So the translation was by Alethea and Athena Nibley. Lettering and retouch was done by Roland Amago and Bambi Eluriaga Amago. Cover design was by Nikki Lim. The editor was Alexis Roberts and Don Davis. We have a pre-press technician, Rhiannon Rasmussen Silverstein. Production assistant was Krista Meisner. Production manager is Lisa Patillo. Managing editor is Julie Davis. Associate publisher Adam Arnold, and publisher Jason DeAngelis. So thanks for bringing this out to us. I'm definitely like also gonna cop the Kamen Rider manga once that comes out because I need more Ishinomori. I need it.
And it's also exciting to see both, I guess, concurrently seeing these classics are getting released while we're also seeing stuff like, Hideaki Anno is making Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. So it feels like we're getting access to the back catalog and the classics. We're also going to see like new works in these spaces, in addition to the constant ongoing Toei and Tsuburaya Productions and stuff putting out, constant Toku stuff. It's a really exciting time. It feels like Toku is really on the cusp of becoming much more accessible, and that's just exciting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to have an episode about this, but we have the Kamen Rider W anime coming out, and that has a Shogakukan manga too. And what's interesting about that is that it runs in an adult magazine. Well, I wouldn't say adult. Seinen's kind of weird in that way, but it's definitely
it's like big comic, right?
Yeah, big comic.
Big comic. Oh yes.
So that's definitely. I hope that we'll probably get the manga picked up at 2. Maybe even, I think the show I believe the show is like streaming now.
I don't know. I believe, see, that's the weird thing about this. Like, for example, you're like, hey, I like this Go Ranger stuff. I want to go watch the original Go Ranger. I'm sorry, you can't. Kamen Rider Double is one of the series that is not streaming. As far as I'm aware, well, I should say in the United States, as far as I'm aware, the Kamen Rider series that you can see are the original 71 show. That's streaming on like VRV and Tubi and stuff. And Kamen Rider Kuga, which was a really, really important series as a revival series, huge hit, very, very specific and kind of its own thing, one of the best tokusatsu series ever. Also streaming like on VRV and Tubi. And then I think Kamen Rider Amazons, which is kind of a modern reboot, is available on Prime. They may have taken it off Prime, I don't remember. But that was on there too. In terms of Super Sentai, like if you're out there and reading it and you're like, actually I want to get into this stuff, maybe I know a little Power Rangers or I don't or whatever, and I want to try some of this, where do I go? Sentai is a little more available. If you've got VRV, or I think Shout Factory TV, which is free. And Shout Factory also puts out the DVDs. I have all the DVD releases. I don't know if they're still available or not, but they have it streaming for free on their site. If you've got VRV, you can watch it on there. But you obviously have to subscribe to VRV. But they have everything from Jetman, which is the season before Zyuranger, or what we'd know as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, up through, I think, Hurricaneger, which would be Ninja Storm. I think that's as far as they've gotten. I don't think they have any more. But you pretty much have 90s and early 2000s. You've got some really excellent seasons in there. There's a lot to choose from. I don't think you can really go wrong. O-Ranger might be the one I wouldn't pick, but you pick one, you're in for an experience, no matter what. And so it is more accessible, but like you can't go out and see Go Ranger right now. I wish you could say we could, but it's like, again, as we said, the coverage is kind of spotty.
Good to know. Hopefully with like now that the potential of Tokusatsu, Kamen Rider, and Sentai, as Grant says, has been around for a while. I actually have Shout Factory's Time Ranger release. Boy, Time Ranger was a ride.
Time Ranger is something. They're all something that, really.
They use for Time Force.
Correct. Yes. The other thing I will say is like I hope we're seeing that. I mean, obviously we're seeing. I mean, the fact that this manga is in all of our hands, like the fact that I'm holding a physical release for this. I mean, even the fact that it's beyond just being a PDF is just astounding to me. But I think we're seeing Toei try to get into that space. They have their YouTube channel thing where like all of their shows are up, but only the first 2 episodes or so of each show have English subs. So it's clearly like a marketing, like, hey, do you want to license these kind of thing? I think that signals, and that's a pretty recent development, I think that signals that they're trying to make it happen. I don't know how successful it's going to be, or if they're going to, push harder. I mean, there's obviously some availability, but I hope it is a sign of things getting better.
Mm-hmm. I actually subbed to that Toei Tokusatsu World official channel. I'm gonna start watching the OG Showa Kamen Rider soon.
OG Kamen Rider is an experience. It obviously predates Gorenger. It's really wild. I really love it. Kamen Rider is super, super important. But it's very interesting seeing them. Well, how to put this? So Tokusatsu, there's definitely like a craft to it, to suit acting and suitmation and all the there is a style and there's a way to tell those stories in the same way that there's physical acting schools of thought. It's really interesting to see in Kamen Rider, watching them pretty much as they go, develop this. Develop that visual language, because early on, obviously we're drawing from Ultraman and stuff, and there's a lot of the Daikaiju films. There's also a lot of Twilight Zone and stuff in there. There's a lot of that kind of early genre television, but they're also trying to develop the martial arts and the hand to hand and making that engaging, but also making sure nobody gets hurt. Doing that. And some of the you're going to see that develop kind of in real time in the original Kamen Rider, and it's really, really exciting to watch. There's some warts there, obviously, because it's like a 50-year-old show, but it's really, really engaging even from the get-go. And again, you can see why, when probably a lot of people didn't even have color televisions yet, why something like this would have just grabbed people. And just like there's something in this, like there's an energy to it that is just you won't find it anywhere else. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, doesn't he like fight Nazis?
Yes, his opponents are quite literally Nazis, and they have their giant underground bases and evil eagles. But he fights weirdo scorpions and bats and all kinds of wild monsters and stuff, and they do they don't just hit a guy and he falls over with blood on his face and he rolls around. I mean, people get turned into silly string, people get blood splattered on the wall. I mean, it's outrageous, but it's also really engaging, I think, just because they will try. It doesn't matter what the script calls for, doesn't matter what the budget is. The crew is going to try their best to make it happen, and they're going to lean all the way in. And sometimes the results are funny and kind of cheesy, but also a lot of times the results are sometimes more terrifying than something that somebody might try to do today, because the manner in which they do it, it's like, this is really upsetting to watch. Like I talk about the silly string one. Like watching somebody like a caricature of a person get they're like a string silhouette get unwound, or like watching someone get turned into like dust, quote unquote, and get like blown away in the wind or something, or like reversing. Yeah, it's like, wow, this is existentially really horrifying. And actually,
that's
because it's so low tech, and because they now it would just be CG, and your brain kind of adapts to CG. You're like, I'm watching a computer do this. But there's something about seeing a tangible thing move or shake or change that it's like, this is worse.
Yeah, something about like practical and like tangible effects where it's done like in person, like on camera, is so much different. Like I can really appreciate that craft. Yeah,
and that tradition maintains to today. Like, it's really, especially if you want to get into Tokusatsu. Of course, I'm trying to push Tokusatsu on all your listeners, but if you get into like the Ultraman side of things, especially modern, Ultraman is done by Tsuburaya Productions, which is named after Eiji Tsuburaya, master of monsters, the guy who designed Godzilla and did all the special effects work on the original Gojira and things like that. But Ultraman, in its modern incarnation particularly, does shorter seasons. Like Toei, who's doing Kamen Rider and Sentai and so forth, they're doing like 40 to 50 episode seasons. Tsuburaya Productions does much shorter runs, 25-ish episodes, but because of that, they can really, really invest in a lot of the practical special effects, and like a lot of the location, like the little model cities and stuff like that. With Sentai, you got to stretch it over twice the run on a weekly television budget. Sometimes like, okay, we're fighting in another kind of empty area. There's 2 model hills. Okay, go. There's not a lot of background there sometimes. And they have to do all the other stuff with we got to have the bikes in this episode, and we got to have the flying robots, and look, you have so much going on. But Ultraman really only has those much fewer fights, but like the visual and practical effects, like craft on display, and there's CG too. Like I won't lie, but the practical effects that are on display and the quality of those is really, really impressive. And then they blow them up, which is awesome.
That's to be the most satisfying part.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad that we were able to have you on and just speak the gospel of Toku.
Thanks for letting me come on and ramble about rubber suit monsters, because I will always do it.
We're always willing to give an ear and listen to that, just because we're also like fans of that kind of stuff. It's really special that we were able to get this manga out and like talk about it. So I'm really happy with how everything turned out. So thank you.
What a great release. What a wonderful piece of history to have and to have available to people, and not on a site that has, hentai ads in the corner. Like, it's kind of nice having, like, no offense, but it's nice, like, not having to go to a sketchy website to read it, like I could sit down and read and enjoy the nice quality, high res and the quality translation. It's really, really special. I'm really glad that whoever behind the scenes pushed to make this happen. Definitely thank you.
Yeah. I guess now would be a good time to round it out. Grant, why don't you plug in your stuff?
Why don't I talk some more? I would love to talk some more. The downside of having me on. So you can find me on Twitter at GrantTheThief. I'm always on there posting terrible jokes and talking about all the things that I love. You can catch, podcasting-wise, I am one of the hosts of the Blade Licking Thieves. Me and some real life buddies. Typically we sit on the couch. Thanks to COVID, we haven't done that in a while, and that hurts. But hopefully with vaccines, we'll be back at it soon. But we sit on the couch together and review various Eastern media, martial arts films or anime films or whatever. And we have a lot of fun on there. I also, if you want to hear me yell about tokusatsu more, I do the Super Sentai podcast with my buddy Pat. He and I work through tokusatsu, doing seasons, and do kind of episode by episode reviews. We're doing Ultraman Mabius right now, which is really, really good. If you want to catch my writing, you can mostly catch me over at Anime News Network. I do the One Piece weekly reviews. I also do some random, like right now I'm doing Back Arrow. I've done whatever random other stuff gets thrown my way, and sometimes it's video games or manga or whatever, but you can catch my writing over there. And also for other sites, sometimes Zemerit or Yadatachi or a few other places you can catch me too.
Noah, Jack and I live by your Black Arrow reviews. I just needed to say that.
Oh, you do? Oh, so you've been watching it? Oh, yeah, I'm so glad to hear it.
I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, good, let's watch it. And she was kind of skeptical, but then I guess I won her over. And then every week we're just like, okay, what's going to happen next? And I read your review. I'm like, Grant said it's good. We have to watch it.
I'm not going to lie. Like, I haven't started Back Arrow yet, but reading your reviews has definitely made me interested in it.
I appreciate it way more with your reviews than I would if I didn't have them. I can say that for sure.
I really appreciate you saying that, because I never know, right? Like I don't always know who's reading their reviews or not. It makes me happy that y'all are reading that, and especially that you're watching it, because Back Arrow, again, the same writer as Gurren Lagann and Kamen Rider Fourze, both excellent series and has similar vibes too. But I think Back Arrow is one of those that, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but you always see those memes on Twitter like, oh, mecha's dead. No, it's not dead. And people complain about whether the mecha genre is dead or not. We have the same discourse every 2 months or so. But like Back Arrow is we all know Gundam is there's always a Gundam out. There's always a Gundam coming or something, right? But like Back Arrow is just like a brand new mecha thing. Has a lot of energy and a lot of spunk and good designs. And I don't really see a whole lot of people talking about it. And it kind of feels like, all right, gang, if we're going to talk about whether it's alive or dead or not every week, there's finally something out that's not, the same old thing. Like it is something somewhat new, and nobody's talking about it. Like, you guys really need to be watching it. It's just really solid mecha action every week. It's fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. I'm so glad that I don't know what made me say, let me watch this first episode, and I'm glad that I did and then converted Jekka to it. So
good. If Jekka approved, I'm gonna watch it as well. So
it's good. It's really, really good. I mean, like Kazuki Nakashima writing, you have Kohei Tanaka doing the music. So like
what?
Yeah,
these past few episodes have been like, things are speeding up.
Yeah, that's what we're just watching it. When we're watching it, we're like, holy crap, the episode's done. It just felt like we just finished the theme song. What's going on with this thing?
Right,
and
right.
I just realized the other day that Emperor Zetsu is voiced by Kinemon, which just kills me.
Oh my god.
It's Kenryu Horiuchi voicing. That's like the whole time I'm watching the show, I'm like, I know this voice. Who is it? And then I'll go watch One Piece, and be like, huh, never make the connection. And then like I actually caught his name on the credits one day. I'm like, oh, that's who it is.
That's so funny because every time I think of Kenny Horiuchi, I think of freaking the bummy like man-slut dad from the Garo anime. And like now I'm like, oh yeah, that is Kinemon's voice. Oh man.
But okay, I'm sorry for the tangent. Not that sorry, but a little bit.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Definitely follow Grant and check out his reviews. He writes awesome stuff.
Oh, too sweet.
Yeah. Sakaki, I choose you.
All right. That was super effective critical hit there. Yes, you can find me at WSS Talkback on Twitter. It is the Shonen Sunday Twitter. I talk about Shonen Sunday news, reviews, do the entire magazine every week. Besides that, there's WSSTalkback.blogspot.com where we do reviews, translations of interviews with Sunday editors, artists, and Marion does a bank up job just writing about mangas that comes out in English. And right now we have one more review actually coming out from Czech about Darren Sean. So that'll definitely be out by this episode if you're listening to this. So definitely check that out. She's really passionate about that series, and my plug for that is always, if you are into any Shogaku related things, whether they're running or not running, they don't have to be in Shonen Sunday. It can be in Big Comic. They can be anything that's Shogaku related. Please come and write for us. I love seeing new blood. Like Marion and Jekka are amazing, but I would love to see more people writing for.
But he's tired of me. I get it.
I mean, I want you to rest, man. That Berserk review took your part of your soul, man. You need to rest. Your
the grind never ends.
Your Inochi's already burning.
Marion had to clone themselves to make that editorial.
Besides that, and Grant probably might know a little bit about this because perhaps soon, I'm also on a Dragon Ball podcast with Colton. Another day, another adventure at another DB pod, where we talk. My catchphrase for that used to be if it's animated and has Goku in it, we're covering it. But Colton told me to not say that because then there'll be some nerd that'll be like, "What about that McDonald's commercial with Goku in it? With the limited edition Goku Happy Meal? Are you gonna review that?" And so Colton told me not to. So but no, I mean we're gonna be covering the anime, like Dragon Ball anime, as little by little as we go over time.
Yeah, I'll let you know a little spoilers. I called Oolong Frank Reynolds.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Kenny DeVito's character from Always Sunny. This is literally the same person.
Yes. God, it was such a great episode.
Oh, I dropped my monster condom for my Magnum dog. He says while he's wearing panties on his head.
Yes. It was such a good episode. That one, I mean, I know Colton said he's going to release episodes soon. It's the thing that right now it's on Manga Magic's Patreon, but soon it'll be available to public, so please check that out. It's a lot of fun. And of course, I'm on other podcasts with these guys. I just can't get away from them. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. At Kirobon on KIIROBON on Twitter. There's really nothing there though. And right, and I write for Tsunami Faithful. Got a article coming up pretty soon, and I'm actually super proud of. Thanks to Marion that it happened, and viewers like you.
Nice.
So
I love it.
Those are my plugs.
Thank you, Sakaki. VLord, why don't you rant yourself out?
Yeah, so people can find me on Twitter at VLordGTZ, and then I also write various reviews of manga and light novels for all-comic.com, as well as occasional editorials for TanamiFaithful.com as well. And then I do a bunch of podcasts. The biggest of them is the Demon Slayer podcast on Twitter at DSlayer Podcast. But then I do a few others as well. The Dumb Weebs podcast at Dumb Weebs Pod. And then with Marion and Sakaki, we also do Oversoul Shaman King podcast on Twitter at Shaman King Pod. So yeah, check out all of those.
Nice. I like being last because I have less to say. Anyway, you can find Saturday Night Shoggy where any podcasts are. We're hosted on Anchor, but you can find us on any other podcast platform that you like. We're also on Twitter at SatNightShoggy. Yeah, and we are affiliated with Weekly Shogakukan Edition.
I have a personal podcast on.
Yes, boss.
No, don't.
All hail our master.
No, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
You can find me on Twitter at Microwavy, the E is before the V. And I also have a card in my description that has like all my other projects. As these guys said already, I co-host on Demon Slayer podcast. Latest episode is out. It's been out because this episode is going to come out. This SNS is going to come out in June. So the episode that I hosted was reviewing the Mugen Train film, which spoilers, it was good. Yeah, there was a really fun episode to host, and we got a lot of discussion out of it.
And Jekka fell asleep.
Yeah, and then she woke up at the end
to laugh at Sakaki.
To do Jekka things, as VLord astutely pointed out.
Yeah. Instead of Roger laughed, Jekka laughed. And so definitely check out DSP. I also co-host well, not really a co-host. I'm more like the Shadow Commander of the Good Friends Anime Club.
Shadow Commander.
Yes.
The Intelligence Division.
I work for the shadows. Yeah, but that one's kind of on hiatus until we're able to like make time for everyone to like have our schedules lined up. Basically, it's kind of hard. Like half of us work in the healthcare industry, so a lot of stuff, But besides that, I also write reviews and editorials. You can find my stuff on wsstalkback.blogspot.com. I also write personal reviews on my own little blog. It's heavensdoorknob.wordpress.com. And I write editorials for Tanami Faithful. Most recent one was a tribute to Kentaro Miura, which went up last night. And I've gotten a lot of really, really kind words and feedback. So thank you, everyone who read it. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. And I think that's it. Thank you for listening. And we hope you had a great Saturday.
A Saturday with us is the best Saturday you could have. And we had a Saturday with Grant, so we're having an even better Saturday.
Thank you all so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm always glad to be on.
Thank you for granting us your presence.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Alright, yeah, now I gotta come up with a weird joke to end this. Good.
Good.
That's it.
We reached peak podcast. Can we just use that for all the rest of the episodes? Honestly,
feel free.
I need to buy a slide whistle.
I was gonna say you have my mouth trombone, but then I was like, I don't know if that phrase sounds. That's something wrong. I don't know if I should.
Say it again.
You're gonna blackmail me if I ever run for office, right? I have the videotape.
You have my mouth trombone and my axe.
Never thought I'd die standing next to a podcaster.
I said the loud part quiet and the quiet part loud.
Looks like you're pretty bad at keeping Himitsus.
No.
Oh. There you go.
You're good.
Nice and relevant on the episode. There we go. I'm gonna start recording now.